Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Out in the holler where the secrets creep, garbage can dudes digging mighty deep. Secret societies, shadows in the pines. Operation GCD of American rebels design. Double J searching deep in his brain hole, past layers of melted hops and bone resin. From cults to cover-ups, we're talking about all of that. So watch your sixth friend and the truth we trust. The world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Join us on the journey and enjoy the show. Thanks for joining us to get a little GCD. Yeah, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo coats haunt the moon's pale beam. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Hell, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze.
Boom! Howdy, folks. Your host, Double J, back here, coming at you live from my studio/RV dining room, located directly inside America. Welcome back, folks, to the interwebs. Thanks again for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD. Once again, your host of Operation GCD, JJ Vance here, and perhaps more notably, not the vice president. Anyhow, thanks again for joining me here tonight. I will be your pilot and navigator for tonight's shenanigan infused journey into the mind of this particular garbage can dude. And I'm not going to lie to you, folks of the interwebs, got a real barn burner here on deck for y'all tonight. Yes, sir. Anytime. I like going over to Clint's channel. Everyone should check out Third Assassin and his talks of liberty and whatnot. In fact, he'll be joining us next Wednesdays for an occult and esoteric film review of the Goonies. But tonight we're doing an occult and or esoteric film review of the 2012 cinematic masterpiece Jack Reacher, starring, Xenu's favorite actor on planet Earth here. That is the overlord, the galactic overlord there for Scientology. And I'm not gonna lie to you, folks, as Looney Tunes as Tom Cruise is the star of tonight's film, I definitely enjoy watching him play a tall guy who knows how to fight. And in tonight's film, the 2012 cinematic masterpiece, Jack Reacher, Tom Cruise plays a very tall guy who is very skilled in fighting. So we got that on deck here tonight. And joining me here, we got Landon, host of the Daily Dissident. Welcome back to Operation GCD, sir. Thanks again for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD.
What's up, JJ? Glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me on again. Super excited for this. Always a good time when we come out here and bust some chops. So,
yes, sir. And as a fellow West Virginian, I'm contractually obligated to have you on here, just to let you know. No, I'm obviously kidding. I always enjoy our conversation, sir. What's new with the Daily Dissident?
Not a whole lot. I got our episode coming out tomorrow. I just finished editing, almost editing. So That'll be on some West Virginia weird stuff again. Also, we have the Fantasy Football channel at the Fantasy Report on YouTube. So that's all I've been working on.
Nice, and I'll put those links in the show notes for folks to check out your fantasy football and your Daily Dissident podcast. And I highly recommend the Weird West Virginia.
It's a little different, right? Yeah, that's going to be a banger for sure. That was one of the best episodes I think I've done. So super excited.
Well, I like talking about weird stuff in West Virginia, sir, and I do appreciate your discourse on both of those things.
Absolutely, it's we're almost here for West Virginia football, right?
Oh well, Rich Rod's back too, huh?
Rich Rod's back, baby. So we're excited for that. If you ain't from West Virginia, you don't know what we're talking about.
I won't watch West Virginia sports until they bring back Bob Huggins. I'm just saying.
The Catholic FAGSs, right?
And what Operation GCD Live would not be complete with Bill Colby's Ball Washers RR channel. I respect your dedication, sir or ma'am. Welcome back. In our next, go ahead, sir.
Is that guy AI or what? You think he's AI?
I think so. Probably CIA AI or something. And our next guest here tonight on the panel, Troublemaker Jonah. Greetings, sir. Welcome back to Operation GCD.
Yeah. Does RR stand for retarded rapist or what?
It might, dude. It might. They do ask a legitimate question: who killed Bill Colby? And fair enough. But right now, they're my number one suspect. I'm just saying. How you doing, sir? What's new in your regions up in the greater north?
Yeah, fuck, man. Nothing at all. I was burning a bunch of shit today, then I was listening to your song, so I had to open up like the little fucking slider here and check to make sure the whole fucking field isn't on fire.
I like burning stuff.
Yeah.
I like burning barns. We're going to do a barn burner here tonight, gents, on the 2012 cinematic masterpiece, Jack Reacher, starring Xenu's favorite actor in Hollywood, Tom Cruise. Was this the first time you gents had seen this film?
Yes.
How about you, Jonah?
Oh, fuck no. I've seen them all. The TV show. I've read all the books. Have you read or have you even heard about The Hunt for Jack Reacher 2, which is like a completely side book series? Did you know about that one? There's like 20 books already.
I'm unfamiliar with that. No, sir. And I have a request from the chat. If you could turn up your mic a little bit. They can't hear you enough, sir. But hey, I'd like to hear more about that.
Jonah, chat. All right, don't be roasting Jonah in the chat. All right? Take it easy on my guy.
Go ahead.
Hey, you're talking to my guy.
I did the reduced mic background. Is that a better?
You're coming in first. So this is the tale of Jack Reacher, Lee Childs. Is this the Lee Childs series?
No, it's actually Diane Capri, who's like some. I don't know. She's friends with him or whatever, but she does an entire. There's like 20 books, and there's like this FBI agent that's followed him.
So it has not. So this is because all this Jack Reacher stuff has gone. I'm getting a little bit of feedback on one of your all's ends. All this Jack Reacher stuff has gone even more Looney Tunes, in my opinion, than James Bond. Whereas you have so many, or even for that matter, Tom Clancy stuff with Jack Ryan. You have so many different actors playing Jack Reacher, right?
Right.
It's not just Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You guys? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you froze.
Oh, no, I don't know. Did I? I might have.
No, you're good. You were just really still, so I was like, "Holy shit, did he freeze?"
So, you know what I mean? We got Tom Cruise did the film, but then they started making Tyler Perry versions of Jack Reacher stuff, right?
They have the TV show out too. I've seen it.
Yeah, they got the TV show out now too, right?
And there's like 25, 26 books. There's that, like I said, I only just discovered The Hunt for Jack Reacher, which is it's a completely separate. It's one fucking protagonist FBI agent that literally is chasing after him for fucking 15 years, and it's like they have like this entire thing. But as we're talking about,
it's a 23 book series of this.
Yeah, The Hunt for Jack Reacher.
Is this fan fiction? Is that what this is?
No, it's like it's officially sanctioned by Lee Child.
So it's like, okay. The plot thickens.
But real quick, since we're talking about Jack Reacher, let's go ahead. I'm sharing the screen right now because I want to show you something here real quick. Even how Lee Child describes the Jack Reacher series, but then he puts it in someone else's mouth. So we can bring that up here.
Oh. Stand by, please.
Yeah, no problem.
There we go.
So it's a little, I guess it's a novella called The Hero, right? So it's only like 45 fucking pages, right? But when you do this here, because I've already done a search for it, because I still remember the first time I read this shit, if it's going to actually do the search. There we go. Of course, it was earlier.
Yeah, I've never even heard of this, The Hunt for Jack Reacher. Dude, this is wild, dude.
No. I've never heard of it either.
So, if you see
Jack
here,
Reacher,
I got the word
for folks who are not
solved.
familiar, the character's a retired military police major, right? An officer in the military
Investigator,
police,
right?
right? Yeah, CID, U.S. Army, military police, and CID, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, to be honest with you, I've never read the book. So, is the character as depicted in the film, the 2012 cinematic masterpiece we're discussing tonight, was that character's basis the same as the books? Whereas he's never really been in the United States before, and when he retires, he kind of just floats around on a bus solving mysteries, Hardy Boy style.
That's how the books go. But even if you look at here, this is from Lee Child's book, like I was saying. But even how he describes the character. Very rough justice. I saw a capsule description of the Reacher series on the internet that said, so he's just saying it himself, but he's putting it in some fucking random person's mouth, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
This is a detective series in which the detective commits more homicides than he solves. So even that's how Daily Child in another novella, or it's actually it's only like 45 pages, but it's just the definition of the word hero through generations, so it goes back to the Greeks and whatever, but so that's pretty much how the story goes. He grew up on bases. If you read
and he's a West Point grad, right? I just saw that he's a West Point grad.
And then so that's the whole story. He was overseas, and then he only came back to go to West Point.
That's the same story of the actual Jack Reacher in the movie too, right?
Yeah, did they mention the West Point part? Okay, maybe I missed the West Point part, but yeah, he's because his father was an army, so he was a military brat, and then
when they were
he was
talking
never really
about
in the U.S. except for basic training, right, and other training, and then he's just traveling around the U.S. Hardy Boy style, which I'm not saying I connect to these things. I don't travel the U.S. Hardy Boy style, nor am I. I mean, I was an enlisted man in the military police and the Air Force, but it is an interesting character, and he's kind of a. Well, yeah, I was gonna say he's kind of an anti-hero. You just said walking tall. That's a good example, right?
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of funny though too, because I'm pretty sure throughout the books it's anywhere from 6'3", 225 to 250. I don't know how he gained inches and like the pounds, whatever, right? But
no, I recall that aspect. My aunt's a real big fan of the series. She's a fellow West Virginian, Landon, from Logan County there. She's a big fan of the series. When the movie came out, she was very upset that Tom Cruise was playing him. She's like, he's way too short. I was like, well, he plays a good tall guy who knows how to fight. And we do see him in this film playing a good tall guy who knows how to fight.
Yeah, it takes out 5 people.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's a good fight scene, dude. It's very well choreographed for the film. I'm just saying. And he plays a good guy. He's convincing, right? He's convincing that he could fight those guys. I assure you, he cannot, but
it was directed very well, though. I thought the movie in general.
Yeah, so when he broke up, so this is what I wanted to talk about too before we get into the plot line of the film here regarding Christopher McQuarrie, the guy who did this film with Cruise. That was right when Cruise was breaking up with his old gal pal Paula Wagner. Now they had produced all the Mission Impossibles together. This was his new teammate. He's done all the Mission Impossibles since then with this fellow. Now Paul, it's interesting because have y'all seen the film Fall Guy? I got a fly on my face right now. It's weird, but y'all seen the film Fall Guy?
I think so.
Yeah, it's loosely based on the 80s TV show, and Lee Majors does make an appearance.
Okay.
So it came out last.
Yeah, I think I've seen it.
No, it's Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling. Yeah, Ryan Gosling.
I get those two mixed up for some reason.
Well, it's fair enough. Fair enough.
The same town that I kind of live in right now, London, Ontario.
That's right. I remember you saying that.
Him and McAdams both come from this shithole town.
Isn't that weird? Because they've kind of been paired together throughout Hollywood together, right?
Yeah.
One question, JJ. How come all of these films, before I never really noticed it, but now we've been doing these reviews and such, How come all of these films are like always involving a conspiracy, right? It's almost like it's conspiracies are so terrible, but why is Hollywood putting on the show? You know what I mean? That's what I think
I
about
missed
it.
that. I missed that part, sir. You cut out, or maybe I cut out, one of the two. But can you repeat?
I was just saying, just how everyone's like, like 4 years ago, you were insano if you were a conspiracy theorist, and it wasn't cool. Now
Oh,
all of a sudden
sure.
it's cool, but it's always been in these films as a conspiracy involved, like almost as if they're mocking us. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I
You're
feel
onto
about it.
something, sir, and that's precisely what I intend to my meta narrative here on Operation GCD Live Wednesdays, an occult and esoteric film review. As we see a lot of the things in parapolitics, et cetera, conspiracy biz, like you're saying, embedded within the films throughout many decades here in Hollywood, and I do think there's an aspect to
But
that is them bragging.
they're usually a joke of a movie too, right? You know what I mean?
Right, dude. Right, they're kind of
It's
making
kind
fun
of
of
a butt
things,
end of
right?
a joke.
Yeah, we see that
Well,
tonight. If you don't, if you want my opinion on the film, the 2012 cinematic masterpiece, Jack Reacher, we do see an element of that because we see the kind of the overarching plot line is this international deep state element of criminals who go around wielding different crimes in different cities. They have a very well established organized network. They're paying off detectives, prosecuting attorneys, etc. Right, so this is the narrative we see here tonight. And before the show, we were briefly discussing the activities in Minnesota, and I commented how it's well documented. Soros is bought and paid for basically everyone in that state, politician-wise, through his son's non quote unquote nonprofit. Not the least of which Larry Ellison, who used to be the head of the Democratic National Committee and decided to go be the state attorney general. That's a weird move.
Well, just to get back to what you were just saying too, if we go back to that hunt for Jack Reacher's whatever book series, it's kind of funny though too because the first book they're getting warnings. They can't try to find any history of him, trying to find any fingerprints, and they're all disappearing. And then the FBI agents get a visit from another fucking federal agent who's like, "Yeah, just stop looking into him." So it's kind of funny that you bring all that up, and it's literally
Oh, really?
the whole like process of like the first book, and then like all of them is just the one agent trying to track down all his movements, but it's just the only information she ever gets is what that she just falls on like whatever without spoiling it. But it's kind of funny. That's exactly what you just described as far as the same scenarios, right?
Right. So it basically leads to this element of the deep state and the authorities therein that are trying to do any investigation chasing their tails.
Yeah. But they play it off more like he just has friends on the inside, but at the same time, it's like, maybe not. Just friends can pull shit.
That is what we see here with Jack Reacher that makes him decide he needs to go on and above the boundaries of the law. And that is, it seems to be what has put him on the target of the FBI with a hit list longer than the homicides he's investigating, which is a good way to put it.
Well,
Right, he also doesn't need a pen. He just automatically remembers, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm not going to fault him for that. I have that same. I'm plagued with that same situation here, sir. So.
But they insert it like so cheesily, you know what I mean, throughout the movie.
I enjoyed that part, but again, that's that's to each their own. I understand what you're saying. It can look kind of cheesy, but I respected that aspect of the situation.
You said Ellison. So what about Larry Ellison's son jumping in? Speaking of movies and Paramount, what do you think about that?
I don't think that's his real name. What's his name?
David Ellison, I think is his name.
Okay, let's call him Biff. I like Biff better. What's Biff up to?
Well, they bought out Paramount now.
Did I say Larry Ellison? Oh, my bad, dude.
Yeah.
You're right. I did say Larry Ellison. He's the Silicon. Yeah, you're right. They did buy out Paramount. I meant Larry. I meant Larry.
Who's your daddy? And what does he do?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what's this guy's last name and what does he do? Right.
The
guy he was a congressman from Minnesota, and then he was the head of the DNC. Then he went back to Minnesota to be the attorney general. Larry. No, I want to say Larry Fitzgerald, but I know Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison, sir. Keith Ellison, black dude, Minnesota attorney general. Larry Ellison, very white dude, super vampire looking white. Yeah, his son did buy out Paramount and all sorts of shit these days, right?
Yeah,
Speaking of, we still got to break down the offer, but that'll be good,
Yeah, that's a show.
No, I'm glad you said that. I was just actually discussing that not that long ago here with with the speaking of a man who knows a lot of details like yourself, sir. Phil Cesaro, he's a big fan of that show too. So I'll make sure I keep you guys both in contact with whenever I schedule the offer, because I do want to go over that. I think that's an important. Speaking of these deep state elements, that series really shows their hand on a lot of things regarding the production of the Godfather, which without knowing that background, you wouldn't think the Colombo crime family is so heavily involved, but they were.
What studio made Jack Reacher, JJ?
That would have been. Stand by 1 second, please, sir. Yeah,
But,
I got my Ellisons mixed up there.
Well, you're looking at that for the first time I was watching.
Warner Bros. Paramount. Okay.
Yeah, it was Paramount Skydance Productions. So Skydance is that David Ellison, right? So
yeah,
this was he did the last Mission Impossible as well. So Cruise and Ellison have been teamed up for a while now too with McQuarrie. This has been their little team with the Mission Impossibles. David Ellison production, McQuarrie directing and writing, and Tom Cruise playing a tall guy who knows how to fight.
Are you just saying McQuarrie or what?
McQuarrie? Isn't that his name? Am I saying that wrong? McQuarrie?
I don't know his name.
McQuarrie.
Christopher McQuarrie.
This guy in chat.
He wrote The Usual Suspects.
They said his son was into weird stuff. JJ.
Yeah.
Keith Ellison.
Well, they aren't they all, sir? Aren't they all?
That's pretty much
Leon Uris, huh?
But
it is. I'll check it out. Thank you.
Did the AFA or anti-fascist, whatever, fucking Antifa,
Antifa?
Yeah, he did the manual. See, I call
you mean AOC?
No. Keith Ellison was in the library holding up like their official. But no, I still call him.
He was the Attorney General that let Minneapolis burn during the Summer of Love, and in honor of our Lord and Savior St. George
Tim
Floyd,
Walz.
2020.
Tim Walz was there too, right?
Well, yeah, of course. They're all part of the team. They're all on the
right.
team.
So was this a payoff? You know what I mean?
Speaking of people that were there at that time, remember the guy that just murked those Democratic politicians in Minnesota, the state senators who used to work for Tim Walz?
Yeah,
Vance
Tim Walz's
Boatler,
brother.
dude. What a weird fucking name. Right? The guy used to work for Tim Walz, dude, and the whole thing just went poof the way of Houdini, dude.
That's how you know something's up, right?
I think man, I'm not going to get too much into this, but I think there's something to be said about the fact that, Minneapolis is located at 44 North, which is Gemini, the twin aspect of it, and then it's also 93, which gives it the Lima bullshit. So I think there's something.
There you go.
See all these fucking things keep happening there.
Yeah, it's a cesspool for sure.
That's a good point, sir, because you know what else is there? A lot of mounds. Both Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the confluence of the rivers just south of there at Fort Snelling, very important mound sites.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Wasn't like the West, like Minnesota and all that shit, not fucking even like developed until the like 1900s, but they have all these beautiful fucking like 1600 stone statues or stone buildings.
Yeah, it is kind of spooky in that respect. There was a lot of French activity in that region. You never really can trust the French, can you?
Hey,
no.
But again, too, if we're talking Minnesota too, I dare you to look into Angle Inlet, which is kind of funny because that goes back to the Louisiana Purchase and the French. So that's that little fucking place that's in. It's literally surrounded all by Ontario, other than a fucking lake, and it's like the kids have to like take a bus through Canada 30 minutes just to go to school. But yeah.
Oh, I'm familiar with what you're talking about. Yeah, that's a wild situation, right?
Angle Inlet, it's called, Minnesota.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they drew that. They get weird with those international lines. I went up to International Falls one time. Because that's on a mountain, so they got a big giant dick statue up there. An obelisk. But
JJ,
they have some weird. What is it?
Documentary of you just traveling to mound to mound.
Well, I mean, I can repeat the journeys, but these are things I started about 17 years ago, to be quite honest with you. But I'm happy to do those. In fact, I want to go back to the Kensington Runestone up those parks, even though it's like 3 hours away, dude. Minnesota's a big place.
Dude, I want to go up to that place you mentioned in West Virginia, Moundsville up there by that. I want to go to that.
The Hare Krishna temple, dude?
Yeah, I want to go to that temple. That'd be sick.
Have you ever heard of that, Jonah? We were just talking about that on the Daily Dissident recently over on Landon's podcast about the Hare Krishna temple there on a mound near Moundsville, West Virginia, where the leader murked a couple of his adherents, about 20 years ago?
I'm pretty sure I have heard of it because I know fucking growing up on hardcore, like fucking Harvey from the Harley or Harvey, or whatever the fuck his name is, from Cro-Mags was big Hare Krishna. And then the other one who fucking Joe Rogan was giving him fucking head for the other guy from Cro-Mags. They both have Hare Krishna and had some other bullshit fighting going on between them or whatever, right?
For sure. Now, this is a great example too here, relative to tonight's discussion. So
that's a mannequin, bro.
Well, we're told that 58-year-old dude named Vance Boatler. Dude, get the fuck out of here. That's a ridiculous name. That sounds made up.
That's a mannequin.
Wait, the whole story's a cardboard cutout, dude. He's a mercenary. He works overseas and works at a gas station. And he works for Tim Walls. Like, none of it makes any sense, dude. Then he assaults he actually assaults 3 or 4 different homes, murks 2 of them, including the spouses of the Democratic state senators, which, by the way, tilted the state Senate towards the Republicans there in the state of Minnesota, I think, or at least it caused an opportunity to. I don't know if I ever followed up on it, but it gave an opportunity for the Republicans to take control of the state house with these 2 folks. Come on, I'm just saying.
Minnesota's almost white enough to be Canada. You know what I'm saying? And
you're telling me that's not George Floyd there?
Well, and to be honest with you, I tell folks from Minnesota and Wisconsin, all my dudes up there, folks I know up there, that it basically is Canada. We've just drawn some arbitrary lines at some point. It's the same territory.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is, it seems perfectly reasonable that he did all this because, there was that time where our prime minister had someone break into his house and his wife had to chase him away or whatever, beat him up with the whole thing. And the RCMP was there. They were supposed to be watching the house, but they had a 22-minute call out.
Yeah, very, very convenient, right? So this fella would return fire with numerous officers, evade fire, evade capture, jump out windows, murk numerous people, and allegedly he's a 58-year-old old man who can barely get around. So I find these things very hard to believe. Well, it's very much like we see tonight. So we see tonight, in tonight's film, the plot line is this international deep state conspiracy. They operate through a construction company, and they go into different cities and foment violence and terror, and then take over all the construction projects and run folks out of town, which, this is, doesn't sound all that unreasonable. They pay off politicians and et cetera, and they murk anyone in the way. And they do so. Well, I was going to say, it's not all that different than situations like that, but they do so by pinning it on a patsy, which is what we see here in tonight's film, and how Jack Reacher gets involved in the investigation, right? Because the beginning of the film opens up with someone sniping. There's a sniper in Pittsburgh.
Very DC sniper-esque, right?
Well, I was going to say very DC sniper-esque, and kind of very all these quote-unquote serial killers or parapolitical events where we see like the DC sniper, you see a bunch of victims, but really, you see the larger quantity of victims to hide the targeted victims, right? Which is what we see in DC Sniper, right? Yes, sir.
And don't they find out that that these people it was assassination, not just like a random event, right? After she does more research into it. So that leads me to believe what I was seeing with the DC Sniper. I know I was doing some research into it. One of the ladies that get dropped during the DC sniping, that no one, that was kind of my reason going down this rabbit hole, was nobody was really talking about it. You know what I mean? The whole DC sniper thing, at least not anymore. I'm sure there was in the early 2000s, but I was a little kid by then. But I seen that.
I recall it very vividly, sir. It was a very terrorizing event for the DC area.
This lady gets dropped at Home Depot, and she's one of the head damn FBI's on the terrorist for terrorist intel. You know what I mean?
And she was on the investigation into the anthrax sent to the U.S. senators and congressmen who voted against the Iraq War.
No, don't be getting to Mr. Rudy Giuliani tonight, all right, JJ?
Way too certain. That's just a circumstantial, sir. Those things, that's just circumstance. These things happen.
It's bullshit, man. That's crazy. But yeah, I looked in that lady in the DC Sniper. I was like, that's freaking crazy. So I think it was a hit after 9/11. I think she was wanting to blow the whistle on it.
Well, there was another connection to the anthrax that was later found to come from Fort Detrick, Maryland, just north of the city, about 60 miles near Frederick.
Yeah, that's
so
not
two
far
of the
from me.
victims were connected to the same anthrax situation. That then they pinned that situation on one of the scientists there, which he clearly was found later not to be guilty of these such matters.
Yeah,
As you
I
guys
met
were
a
bringing
guy
up
at a comedy show that worked at Dietrich, and I was hammering with questions. He actually worked there. It was pretty cool at a comedy show.
While you guys were talking about that, I looked up the DC sniper was October 2002, right? And then
Check when he dies, Jonah. Check when Malvo dies. Check the date and time.
I didn't get that much into it. The only reason is because the book itself is pretty much identical to the plot, you know. But so the book came out in 2005, so any similarities probably directly related to it, right?
For sure. I'll get you the date and times, JJ. It's fucking crazy. This what tipped me off to the 9/11 thing. This is why I think this lady gets dropped. I think that this whole DC sniping thing pertained to 9/11 for sure. I'm gonna go on a limb and say it.
Oh, dude, there's a lot of evidence to support that for sure. Now you're making some good points.
He dies November 10th, 2009. I'm trying to find the time. It was weird. I'm wanting to say.
Well, this is what we see in
9/11.
tonight's plot line, right? So we see these people getting made patsies, right? Meanwhile, we see there's a deeper parapolitical situation. So this construction company that's operating through all this criminal organization that's operating through a construction and development corporation, right? This weird, as they go to try to find the books of this matters, this company's all registered overseas, et cetera, right? Through various LLC, corporations and whatnot that you can't really track. As we learn to find out through the investigation of Tom Cruise, that tall guy who knows how to fight in the film, at least, or plays a tall guy who knows how to fight. But we see that's what I mean. This film, I think, in my opinion, depicts with these plot line of like not just the DC sniper case, but let's look at the Son of Sam case. These are not random attacks.
No,
these are made to look random,
hits.
and some of them might be random, but there are targeted ones hidden in there, and that's what we see tonight because the woman that they were targeting in this film in the plot line was the woman that was holding up that construction contract. Her husband seems to have been killed. She still wouldn't sell the company to this foreign corporation, and then we got a way to dealing with you.
Yeah.
The other thing that I found interesting though too is I just thought that was interesting that they named the fucking the guy who was doing the alleged patsy was named Barr after Bill Barr, right after he just finished being
Dude, right?
Yeah,
that's weird.
So we get the patsy, and Tom Cruise had been deployed with this guy in Iraqistan years earlier, and dude had a thirst for blood. He'd been trained as an Army sniper. I've been trained as a U.S. Army sniper. I don't have no thirst for blood, but this dude had been trained as U.S. Army sniper years earlier. And Tom Cruise, when he was still on active duty there, when they were on active duty together, that is, this dude had sniped a bunch of folks over in Iraqistan. He just happened to murk a bunch of Blackwater contractors who just got done raping a bunch of women and children. So the U.S. Army
for
said,
some kid shit, right?
We'll just sweep it under the rugs. Yeah, because I mean, they're not going to report on. He didn't get charged, right, for murking the guys, but they made no issue of it. But Tom Cruise promised him. He said, "If you ever get out of line again, I'll find you." And that's where we kind of get let off because after we see the murking going on there on the riverfront in Pittsburgh, and this 2012 cinematic masterpiece, Jack Reacher, we see the police suddenly bust down the doors of this patsy fellow, this Barr fellow, right?
Yeah. That's what the whole TV series is on. I think it's the Barr character.
No. It's I watched the series there. It's completely different. So they're each after one or two books, and then they just drag it out for 10 parts. So the first
shared that screen, JJ.
The first season's the first book where he ends up getting blamed for his brother's homicide briefly.
Typical.
That's what tipped me off on the whole 9/11.
Yeah, we got some occult dates, huh?
Well, just that he gets executed at 9/11 at night. Like, who's doing executions that late at night? Like, that's what I was wondering.
They're usually at midnight, actually, aren't they?
Do what?
They're usually at midnight, the start of the day.
Oh, I'm not for sure when regular time is, but I mean, I wouldn't think they would be at 9 o'clock at night. It's just, I don't know. Maybe that's me reading too much into it, but I found it very weird that those two situations.
Well, I mean, considering all the connections to the case with 9/11, like you're saying, it is very suspect, right?
Yeah, it's a tip of the hat, right? We see that everywhere now in conspiracy culture. You see what I'm saying? It's a little nod to it's a little bow at the end of the movie, right?
I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see RR's got a sense of humor, sir. I'm glad to see that happens. I like it. So, yeah, dude. Well, here's the deal. So we see them kick down that door, like the FBI kicked down Brian Koberger's door on December 30th, 2022, like they were fucking ninjas in the middle of the night serving a warrant, like we're in fucking commie land. But we do see a lot of that here. And again, I think that is part of the aspect we see in these overarching parapolitical situations that drive narratives, that change our culture, that drive legislations like 9/11.
That drive fear, strike fear campaign,
fucking
right?
Fear, dude.
They're always multifaceted too. You look at, I mean, somebody mentioned in the chat they were in Virginia at the time, but I mean, the whole country was scared. You know what I mean? Especially DC.
But can I point out one thing though too, which is kind of funny, is like, how did they find out who Barr was supposed to be? Is that they plugged a fucking quarter into a parking meter?
Yeah, dude.
A parking meter, the parking structure that has slots. Like, what?
Yeah, that's right. So dude pulls up into the parking garage, they got parking meters there, puts a quarter in there, and then they pull the meter and find a fingerprint on the quarter. And Tom Cruise even said that's the first thing. If y'all notice later, he starts beefing with the detective because the detective's paid off by the criminal syndicate.
That's when he gets tipped off, right?
Detective. Well, that's his first. If you notice, that's the first time he's tipped off because he goes, "Detective, who would have thought to pull that meter?"
Well, even they go back to the scene, and this is probably fucking there's no other. Even when they take it down all the wrap, and he goes back there, there's no other meters anywhere in the fucking thing. So he picked the only parking spot and then plugged the meter. Like, what the fuck? Seriously?
And who would do that performing an assassination?
Well, I'll tell you who would do that. Brian Koberger and his touch DNA and that damn knife sheath that he left at the crime scene that no one could ever produce, and no one ever has a chain of custody of the evidence, and of which all seems fictional, which we see depicted in a film like tonight's film, because they just fabricate a bunch of really ridiculous evidence and say this guy did it.
Right.
Yeah.
He has weird porn searches, I'm assuming, just like Kohlberger does, right?
Well, here's another interesting aspect we see. If y'all remember in the investigation to one Thomas Crooks and that whole Butler, PA situation just north of Pittsburgh, we see some strange elements that exhibited there that we see in the film. So one of the things they do to frame the patsy is they go to the shooting range with him, but they sign in 2 people. Well, here's the deal. Congress will not unredact those shooting range forms because there's another party that signs it at the same time as Crooks every time he goes to the range.
Very, very suspicious, right? And how come
the same thing we see in the film, though, right? The same thing we see in this film.
Oswald too.
Well, first off, was that shooting even real? Because get the fuck out of here.
Well,
I don't know.
That's a good point, sir. That's a good point. But are we inferring that they're taking plot lines from Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise films and playing them out in real life as if they are real? Because if you're saying that, I kind of believe you.
Well, I mean, I would even go with Day of the Jackal. Like, let's give credit to a good movie and not fucking some Tom Cruise shit.
Oh, Day of the Jackal. That's a good one. Let's be honest, sir. We can't diminish tonight's star of our film, Tom Cruise. He plays a great tall guy who knows how to fight.
I mean, we can diminish him all we want. I mean,
well, we can, but you're going to face the wrath of Xenu and being stuck in a prison plant for 5 billion years. Unless you sign the contract. If you sign the contract, sir, you're going to be good to go.
You'll have 900,000 wives, right?
Hey, is he going to come?
Well, I don't have to guarantee you that, because let's face it, Elron was into the youngsters, if you know what I mean. He's a bit of a diddler. So before I get any further, I watched this film last May, and I was somewhat impressed by the film, even though it's loosely based on the TV show. I am also convinced after watching this film, as I said, this film tonight was the start of Cruise's new relationship with David Ellison, son of Keith Ellison, now the folks who own Paramount, and this Christopher McQuarrie guy, because previously to that, his production team partner was this lady named Paula Wagner. So in this film, we're introduced to an action star who looks suspiciously like Tom Cruise, and a bitchy lady who is his partner and production member who looks suspiciously like Paula Wagner. They murk, spoiler alert, the stunt guy. They try to, right? They try to murk the stunt guy. He ends up breaking his back. The next stunt guy, the Tom Cruise character does murk him, and then they try to frame it on the original stunt guy. They bring him back. That's Ryan Gosling. But my point being is, after watching this film, I'm convinced Paula Wagner and Tom Cruise have killed a stuntman before and just covered it up.
On some Rust production shit, right?
Yeah, they're just bragging about it, dude. They like, we'll put it in the plot on this film. No one will ever believe it. You've seen that in the movie. What do you watch movies, dude? You watch movies? Do you think that's real life? You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about, right? It's MKane Ultra stuff. Welcome, MKane Ultra.
Hello.
What's up, Kane? Nice to meet you, brother.
The Purge?
Have you been imprisoned by Xenu? Do we need to rescue you, sir?
Just throw me a couple of Scientology rags and some videotapes, and I'll be fine.
I thought you were Tom Cruise. I thought you were Clearwater Zone Tom Cruise towel boy. No.
No, I'm just a stalker through the windows. I try to find any dirt I can get. I don't know.
Do you, as a Clearwater native, sir, do you hear much about the man down there?
No, never seen him.
Let's be honest. Come on now, Kane.
Any of those guys? You see the little troll ants that walk around that I ask them how the $1 billion contract's going, or $1 billion contract, you know, and then if I see somebody that's getting recruited and say, it's a cult, run now. But it's only like as I'm passing by, I don't dedicate myself to it. They've been infiltrated since the early 70s, and we can't get rid of them. But eventually they'll take over. They're running the police now. But, you know, I like Tom Cruise movies, and I realized I did see this movie many times, and it's one of my favorite. The construction scene you guys were talking about earlier is one of my favorite. And it doesn't require too much of a suspension of belief on that. I'm with you with the bar scene. How did they know he was going to be there? And another thing is what
level... Time out, sir. What do you mean?
Hold on, this is a Purge takeover, JJ. Let me interrupt you real quick.
But I got to interrupt you. I got to counter-interrupt you for your original interruption.
I counter-interrupt your counter-interrupt. Let me finish my statement. Is that what level of sniper were Duvall and Cruz that they're just anything high level is attributed to them and they can murk anybody they want?
Well, let's hold on, sir. As a U.S. Army and U.S. Air Force and other school trained sniper, I will say that it is a skill set that we do take honor in. And I'm not saying I'm out there murking folks. I'm just saying when you see Robert Duvall dusting off the old, the old iron sights. I'm just saying I've been in, I'm not saying I'm not that old, but I'm just saying, these are skill sets you acquire and you kind of maintain.
Sure, but that doesn't. I mean, snipers are dime a dozen. No offense.
Whoa, dude!
In the military operations,
dude, that's not accurate. Dude. I used to train fellow military police officers, not in the Army like our character tonight, Jack Reacher, but in the Air Force. And I assure you, sir, there are some folks that can't hit the broadside of a barn, and they call themselves police officers. So let's not say snipers are a dime a dozen. Now let's not go out on that limb.
Wait. But there's a million snipers. You got the Marines training snipers. You got Navy training snipers.
I will play you a clip right now of the Ohio State Police. They find themselves. They think they're fine at marksman shooting 13. I think he shot 7 in the Chevy Kehoe fellow, that Nazi from Idaho. The Nazi terrorist. He shot 6 or 7 himself. They're about 13 meters apart or so at most. At their furthest distance, no one hits anything, dude. That's what I'm saying. Let's take it down a notch on marksmanship.
Can I ask you how it's possible that, as I'm looking up here, there's 3 Canadians in the top 10 for longest shots ever made on a sniper rifle?
Am I frozen?
Nobody cares about that. Sorry, Trouble. But anyway,
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Snipers being dime a dozen. They are a dime a fucking dozen, bro. And you have 100,000 of them that have been trained over the years. My point is, they never qualify Tom Cruise's exceptional abilities and his high level clearance that was torn away like a rug under his feet in the Idaho 4 bathroom. I mean, it's that's another thing about Hollywood with their suspension of disbelief. Now, you have guys
well,
like...
Wait a second. You're coming in hot here, dude. I got to unpack your ideas and thoughts. I like where your brain hole's at, but I don't understand what you're saying necessarily. So where's your beef? What's the beef? Where's the beef?
I'll quantify it in a way that you can chew up pretty easily. Let's look at True Lies.
Are you telling me Muppets can't be snipers, dude? I find that hard to believe. That's a Muppet sniper, my friend.
He's only as good as the hand up his ass, Jage. But yeah, you have movies like True Lies, Arnold and Arnold, Tom Arnold and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, they are in the NSA, right? So we know where they're coming from.
They're kind of in a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible type of organization, are they not?
It's got the guy who played Sparta in it.
They had Charlton Heston in there, yeah.
Charlton Heston,
Yeah,
if they could have, they would have had Hedy Lamarr as the lead gorgeous girl in that movie.
I don't know,
but they chose to have.
That's accurate.
So
you're saying this is unbelievable? This you're telling me you want me to believe, sir? This is an unbelievable plot line. Is that what you're leading me? Is that what you want me to believe?
I'm just saying you start at a dirt bar and, some redneck shit-heel kick-toe bar, and now all of a sudden he's got to take it. And really, to be honest with you, the guys that he's taking out aren't that high level. It's like a senator is involved or something, right? And
what movie are we talking about right now?
I don't see the connection. Here's my point. I don't see the connection between 9/11 and the DC sniper. What? Oh, where's that reach?
We're on different subjects. I'll defer to Landon for that one, sir.
Well, I just kind of done some digging around.
You weren't born yet, Landon. Sorry, I'm just interrupting everybody now. I'm just
this girl gets dropped at Home Depot, man. She was working for the FBI, like head of the terrorist part of the FBI.
When was that?
If you want some good day laborers, that's a good Home Depot to go to. By the way, that's beside one.
No, man. Now, right? So there's no more Home Depot.
No, that's right. Well, that's right. We all work for the UN now. That's a good point. So, two of the victims connected to the anthrax attacks, right?
Yeah. Muhammad dies at 9/11, so that was my reach.
Well, no, I don't think it's a reach because, like I said, we got the FBI lady and another person connected to Fort Detrick in the anthrax business with the 9/11 situation. Because what happened was
Franklin is her name.
What happened was those folks that wouldn't vote for 9/11, they got either crashed in a plane crash. Paul Wellstone in Minnesota, U.S. Senator, he had a weird meeting with Teddy Kennedy at the airport in Minneapolis before he got on a private plane that the FBI happened to beat him to the plane crash. That's weird. And then we saw the other folks get the anthrax in the mail, and those are the folks. It seems like the DC snipers cleaned up any loose ends on that investigation. The FBI person and the science.
She was FBI intelligence.
So you're saying that Mark Wahlberg, having canceled his flight, is why the whole thing happened?
I don't think Mark Wahlberg ever had a flight, dude.
Right. That's probably is this some Paul Bunyan shit? You know what I mean?
It's like the same thing. James Woods was like, I saw those guys on a plane last week. I told the FBI, go fuck yourself, James Woods. How about that?
Let me tell you something, young man. As far back as 96, we had Dateline going into Al-Qaeda. All right?
And you know what Al-Qaeda is, right? It means the database.
I thought you were literally
the CIA's use of the Mujahideen. So these were all
the Mujahideen, and so we had them in there, and we knew that they were going to try something. They'd already done something in '93 with the trade tower.
Did Bill Clinton tell you
Oklahoma?
This?
I'm sorry, Landon. What'd you say?
I said in Oklahoma.
They trained Al Qaeda in Oklahoma. It was filmed there, but it was made to look like Afghanistan. No, it's not like we didn't know. It was coming, man, and 9/11 was a whack job that they got away with.
So they weren't space lasers?
I don't know who's they, sir. Who's they?
The terrorists, the people that we put into a high level position that started out as rich guys that hated the United States. It's just like as clean cut as the Coburger
George Bush,
case.
Donald Rumsfeld.
Yeah, who you talking about? Don Rumsfeld, dude? Casper Weinberger?
Where's the $6 trillion? Where's the $6 trillion?
Yeah, dude.
Robert Mueller.
Those are the criminals, dude, not the Al Qaedas, dude.
Yeah, I don't.
So, anyway, back to
sure.
tonight's film, sir. Tonight's film, we're faced in the 2012 cinematic masterpiece starring Xenu's favorite Hollywood actor, Tom Cruise, and my favorite Hollywood actor to watch play a tall guy who knows how to fight. And it seems, if I'm hearing you correctly, if I'm extrapolating your complaints, sir, it seems like your biggest beef here is this fight scene, but you're okay with the parapolitical deep state angle of folks getting murked when they get in the way of this deep state criminal conspiracy?
I mean, it happens all the time.
Where's your beef? Where's your beef?
It happens all the time. People get murked for not going with the flow. It's get along or lay down. You know.
Yeah, but we got a Brian Koberger Patsy situation here where they left a fingerprint on a quarter in a fucking parking meter, dude.
Right, which never would have been investigated in Idaho. They wouldn't have made it that far.
Well, not only that, no one would ever check it, which is what Tom Cruise's character is tipped off in the film is, hey, detective, why did you ever pull that meter in the first place? So your biggest beef then is the fight scene. You're saying Tom Cruise can't beat up 5 people at once or did not do it well in a Hollywood format.
I think the suspension of disbelief was pretty. I mean, you realize how ridiculous it is when you're watching it, but
the plot line seems totally reasonable to me. That's why I'm willing to have this discourse of why you find it not reasonable.
I don't have a really problem with the deep state thing. I think that adds a nice little Tom Clancy element, you know.
I agree. There you go. I like that. We already were doing some of that.
The problem with these deep state movies is you never get into the intricacies. It's like the guy's written a book where he outlines in details exactly how your higher level government 3-letter agencies work. And then it's like they make a movie that's redacted for the public's best interest in the interest of people with no brains.
National security, Kane.
Well, there you go, sir. National security. And let me give you guys a little journey here in Allegheny County. The plot where tonight's film takes place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The year was 2017. There was a fellow who got murked, Dakota James, who's missing almost 44 days, found on a mound that was searched hours before. That's weird. Yeah. Neville Island. That's strange. Anyhow, he's gone, I think, almost 44 days. He's got decomposition of less than 3 days. That's strange. Again, at a site that was checked hours beforehand by the police. Weird. Videotaped in their search wasn't there. Anyhow, so the prosecutor would decide to go ahead and cover that up. The coroner would decide to go ahead and cover that up. Famed pathologist Cyril Wecht would be hired by the victims' families and determined that boy was murdered. He had ligature marks around his neck. He didn't drown like the coroner said. He had ligature marks around his neck. He had burn marks, dude. He'd been tortured. He'd been alive for over 40 days in which this was being done to him. Lord knows what else they did to that young man. But nonetheless, the politicians were paid off in the county we're talking about here in tonight's film. And the old county medical examiner, Cyril Wecht, he's done, again, he's got a very long list of things that he's accomplished, not the least of which being a medical doctor, pathologist, and a lawyer. Not some weird combo to achieve, but he did that. And he points out some reasonable circumstances when you see giant ligature marks on the victim's neck, and they're like, no, he drowned. You know what I mean? But that's, again, and then they don't even put it on it. There's no patsy in that case. They just say there is no case. And when the victim's family goes to meet with the prosecutor, they have the Secret Service and the fucking FBI there. So speaking of matters of national security, what the fuck does the Secret Service and the FBI have anything to do with an accidental drowning in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
When would you say that the Secret Service became this all-encompassing agency? It would be after 9/11, I guess, right?
Way before that.
They started out, even the way they started out was weird as shit, right?
Exactly. There you go.
Look at Henry Rathbone and the Lincoln case.
There you go. Yeah, dude. We saw it in the Lincoln case. So useless ass Grant just decided not to show up to the theater that night. Him and his wife decided they weren't going to be the guests of the president that night. The Secret Service, the proto-Secret Service, all took the night off for the incident, which would be described as Lincoln's murder.
Yeah, shout out to Wheezy, by the way. What is Truth podcast? That's he has got a lot of good Lincoln stuff. He's kind of picking up where McGowan left off on the Lincoln stuff. So shout out to What is Truth. So I had him on the show. He broke it down for me, and it's intricate. You know what I mean? But the whole story falls apart very quickly.
There's some weird shit about Vice President Johnson at that time too, right? Which is kind of funny because isn't Johnson also the fucking vice president for Kennedy? And like, you know, that's just weird.
dude.
Mary
There's
Surratt,
so many correlations between those two murders, dude, or alleged murders. It really draws the question of what the fuck's going on here.
You have the Vatican too in that whole Lincoln assassination attempt. I mean, the whole thing, right? Because you have John Surratt who flees to the Vatican where he becomes a pope or a cardinal or some shit.
No, he becomes a member of
Spain.
the.
He went to Spain.
No, he goes to Vatican. He becomes a member of what is essentially the French Foreign Legion, which operates under the Vatican Guard in this weird
That's
outfit.
where they picked. That's where they got his ass over there. So you know that's right here in Surrattsville. That's like I don't know 45 minutes from my house. So I want to go do some digging
dude.
there.
And Dr. Samuel Mudd, the guy who got imprisoned down there in Key West, in the prison down there, not far from that fucking haunted doll on a mound in a different Civil War site down in Key West, but this one's on an island of prison. It used to be a fort and the Dry Tortugas. Anyhow, Dr. Samuel Mudd, in prison for that conspiracy, was cousins with Abraham Lincoln Mudd, who was Abraham Lincoln's first cousin, and likely the hereditary member of the Society of Cincinnati from their grandfather, Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln Mudd, that is. That's what I'm saying, dude. These are not only are these family feuds, we're sold these weird narratives and put on patsies. I don't think any of that shit's even accurate, man. Like none of it, you know what I mean? There was a dude who wrote a conspiracy pamphlet just like 2 years after the whole Lincoln situation. He drew up a lot of good questions.
John Booth walks into D.C. under martial law with a damn Derringer pistol. I mean, who's buying that story?
Yeah, dude. And then to get out of D.C., he tells the bridge operator, because they're under martial law, essentially, right? It's the Union troops. He tells the bridge operator, yeah, my name's John Wilkes Booth. Yeah, you're not going to go shoot the president to give your real name to get out of town. Dude, get the fuck out of here.
I mean, Timothy McVeigh got pulled over, fucking just speeding.
No tags in his getaway vehicle. That's you know that's always believable, right, Jonah?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of all these weird similarities in these deep state parapolitics, to go back a couple hundred years, as we're pointing out at minimum, we do have those weird similarities between the Lincolns and the Kennedys.
It gets talked about every once in a while, like the eerie similarities between JFK and Lincoln. They were both elected 100 years apart, 1860, 1960. Both were like heavily involved with civil rights, both 7 letters in their last name. Lee Harvey Oswald, John Wilkes Booth, both 18 letters in their name. They were both killed when they're sitting next to their wife. Both of their successors had the last name Johnson. Both of the murderers died before the trial. So there was never any trial. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln, and both of them had like premonitions where they like begged the president not to do what they were about to do. So don't go to Texas. Don't go to Fort Theater. I got a bad feeling about this.
That's creepy, right?
That's pretty weird.
So in regards to the Lincoln situation, yeah, most folks don't realize this, that Abraham Lincoln, technically it was his partner that represented Joseph Smith in numerous fraud cases, mainly. But his law firm, Lincoln's law firm, was a 2-man firm. Lincoln's law firm represented Joseph Smith. That was his attorney. But Lincoln, I can only find Lincoln present for one of the trials, and he didn't do any of the filings. It's only his law partner. But I don't know. There may be more to that story. But
isn't Mary
they definitely
Todd,
knew each other.
George Washington, right?
Who is this?
Mary Todd.
Mary Todd's related to George Washington. I don't think so, but they might be in a more distant relations. The Lincolns are more closely related with the Randolph family.
Can I ask if any of you have really dove into, since we're talking about the Lincoln shit, have any really dove into the Knights of the Golden Circle?
Yeah, dude, started in Cincinnati and has direct connections to the Society of Cincinnati.
Yeah. And obviously, their key involvement in the Confederate States leading up to the war, the Jesse James connection, who allegedly possibly hit all their dollars or all their funds or whatever. There's some weird shit going on with that too. The Knights of the Golden Circle, and but that's a whole nother story.
No, you know who I talk about that a lot with is Clint over there at Thermal Assassins. We oftentimes get into conversations about the Knights of the Golden Circle
because they were heavily involved with the Civil War, right?
Well, it was a secret society that helped manage the Confederate finances, if you will.
And then they
were the Rothschilds of the Confederates, of
and then
Robert E. Lee. You know what I mean?
they were directly.
Right.
Wait a second. What?
That's right. You
What
heard
a
that, Kane,
Rothschild? Lee?
Yeah, yeah. The
His
Knights were
wife
told-
was, maybe, but not him.
Who?
But
General Lee.
General Lee's wife was
Yeah,
was
that's where
was,
Arlington National Cemetery comes from.
Fun
you
fact.
know your history, sir. They lost that land in the settlement. So Robert E. Lee was the grandson-in-law of George Washington. So George Washington and Martha adopted the biological grandson of Martha's biological grandson from her first marriage, a George Washington Parke Custis, because his father, Daniel Parke Custis, got murdered at Yorkshire fighting alongside old George Washington in the American Revolution. So George would adopt that man's son and raise him as his own because he was already named after him. That man's daughter would marry Robert E. Lee. So you see a family feud forming pretty quickly.
Robert E. Lee's horse was actually, he bought his horse about 10 miles from my hometown there in Blue Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. So
There
his
you
horse
go.
Traveler.
West by
I got a
God,
metal
Virginia.
detector now, and I'm dying to get back, and I want to find some musket stuff, some cannonballs or anything. That'd be cool.
Well, there's lots of that there in there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'd just be looking for gold, never mind a fucking musket ball. But hey,
That whole risk game of North versus South, the general situation was just by happenstance. It was, they all graduated from West Point together. So there was they would have just fought for whatever army was going to make them a general.
They were NFL players, right?
What?
Is what you're saying?
Well, sir, I would argue,
like
sir, that they were all the hereditary members of the Society of the Cincinnati, and the South Carolina chapter of the Society seeded from the Society in 1860 in April. The next year, in April of 1861, we see the start of the Civil War out of the same location in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, but there's actual stories about how they got their jobs. Like General Grant did not want to be in that war. He didn't want anything to do with it.
Well, sir,
And Lincoln kept begging him because he was the best candidate.
Sir, there's actual stories about this fella in this film here tonight, Barr, who murked 5 people on the riverbanks of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where in fact that story's bullshit. And that's what I'm saying. We don't understand the Civil War because it is a matter of a secret society where we're sold false narratives. Things are put on patsies like John Wilkes Booth. I'm not saying he wasn't complicit in some regard. I'm just saying he wasn't the man in the theater telling this man the real name across the bridge, dude. Let's be honest about that.
I'm going to go out on a limb and
Let's
say,
I'll go
just
on
like
with you,
World
dude.
War
Break that
I,
limb because we're a couple fat bastards. But please continue.
that the Civil War started by accident, just like the stories.
No.
It was
I'm telling you
shots
right now,
fired at Fort Sumter, and I don't think it was any kind of plan to it. You were recruiting soldiers directly off the ships coming from Ireland. You were getting people onto that, but it never was under anyone's control. I mean, they were waking up to tens of thousands of people dead, and people were crying for an end to this war, and it continued. And it's just it may be Cincinnati related, and they may have fueled its perpetuation, but it was something that was definitely not planned, and it just happened. There isn't the oddity to me.
I can send you the documents from the conference of 1860 where South Carolina didn't show up and the Society of Cincinnati fucking crumbled. They didn't reform until 1879, sir.
yeah, but let's
JJ,
not.
weren't the Russians supporting the Confederacy?
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Well, no, they supported us in numerous wars. Numerous
No,
wars. They were helping. Go
And
ahead.
then that
Go ahead.
the Alaska, so the Alaska was part of the so 1850s. Russia had the war with Crimea, which was actually the British and the French, and I think the Ottoman Empire, if I'm not mistaken. But then Russia supported the Union in 1860,
yeah.
and then
Yeah, I have it backwards.
the Alaska Purchase was due to the funds that Russia owed from the 1850 Crimean War. So they sold Alaska off to the USA after the war, and the USA didn't even want it. And then they found all the oil and fucking gold.
Well, they sold us California before that too, right?
Well, I mean, what's really funny when you talk about Russia and the Pacific. So, like, there's the Dutch East India Trading Company, there's a Hudson Bay Company. Well, Russia had another one. I forget the name of it. But when you look into it, there's a Russian admiral who first sails over to America. And when they're going up the Alaskan coast, in his journals, like these are Russian journals, he's talking about the Tlingit tribe having fucking 2-story houses up the Alaskan coast. But then you hear all these stories about the Eskimos up there that fucking living in igloos. So that's
dude,
all.
of course, dude. They only we know for a fact they only build igloos. That's what I'm saying. That we're sold bullshit stories, right? These are false narratives. What we're describing across different elements of history and society is a bunch of false narratives. And again, I think part of these things we deal with in these big parapolitical situations, like represented in tonight's film, is this idea of a lone nut assassin. That's part of the psyop, because you can't reason that in your brain hole, and you're like, what the fuck? Schizo in, schizo out.
What are you talking about? Fucking Eric Rudolph was genuine. Keith Jewell was definitely the bomber.
right.
Really?
What was like?
Well, you have to start. You have to start with the Texas Bell Tower. If you want to talk about lone wolf assassins.
Let's do that one, sir. I'm familiar with that case.
I've been
to Texas.
Or Jonah, you might know. What was that ordeal in Britain in like 2012 that's connected to the Aurora shooter? What was his name?
I don't know about that. There's a lot of weird
Liborg scandal. That's what.
The Liborg scandal, dude. That's a big deal. That's the scandal that sets the central banking rate down in the city of London. The Vatican City of London.
Yeah, that shit, dude. That whole thing stinks. And what's his name's? I'm pretty sure it was the Aurora shooter's dad was testifying against.
Yeah, dude. No, he seems to have been involved in the production and manufacturing of the algorithm or software related to the establishment of that Libor banking rate.
That's my stuff. That's right down my alley, JJ. You know that. I love it.
Landon, something that continues to perpetuate with the cyber scandals was the Microsoft cloud, and then they farmed it out to the Chinese. That's a little bit more of a recent development.
Okay.
Do you have some tips on that one?
No, not. This is brand new news to me. That's crazy. But you see that with AT&T
breaking news.
The Israelis, right?
Adam Lanza's father was also connected to that Libor scandal. He was the head of Ernst & Young and then GE VP of Finance and Accounting.
Yeah, that's crazy. And what was the Boston bombing? Those dudes dead. He was CIA, right?
By the way, can I just bring up Omar Mateen? They try to tell you that he shot up the club because he's gay, but in his 9/11 transcript, he's like, "Hey, tell Obama and Biden to get the fuck out of Iraq and Syria." That's all he says. But then his dad was a paid federal informant
for Hillary, right? He was working with
the guys,
with the Clintons.
Yeah, and Mateen worked for Wackenhut.
Yeah, G4S. Yeah, that's
what they call themselves now. They got to church it up, right? You always got to rebrand yourself. Blackwater ain't called Blackwater no more. But we did see a lot of Blackwater fellows that were they were dressed in the uniforms of Chris Kyle's Blackwater company. That Navy SEAL sniper fella. Speaking of snipers, Kane, they're not a dime a dozen. Chris Kyle.
Do you think he's dead, JJ?
Well, he may or may not be, sir. But what we did see at the Boston bombing was folks wearing Kraft International uniforms. That was his company. This was before he shortly thereafter would allegedly take a Marine with PTSD out to a rural Texas firing range, and then that Marine allegedly murked him. So that story's stupid. I'm not that dumb.
That's a good point. Because not to interrupt you, JJ.
Well, absolutely. Please interrupt me. I interrupt you all the time on the Purge. This is the Purge invasion.
As far as lone wolf assassins, it makes it more palatable to the common man. Because honestly, in any kind of situation, the only way you're going to get away with it from the beginning to the end is if it's you that knows everything that's going to happen, and only you don't tell anybody. And now, with the Boston bombing, you've put a twist on that. You've got two brothers that they'll never turn on each other.
Two
So
brothers
that's
that
an
were deeply
interesting
connected to the FBI, but the FBI put out a press conference saying, we don't know who the fuck these guys are. They were paid informants.
They were
Their
informants?
uncle worked for the CIA. He was
straight
married.
up CIA.
He was married to the daughter of the operations officer in charge of Eastern Europe. Not Angleton, but like Angleton equivalent.
But don't forget that the brother Tamerlane was arrested live on CNN. But then, like I watched it live at 3
I remember
a.m.
that, dude. They had cell phone footage of it, dude.
Not even
Were they
dude,
Azure? Were they
Purge,
Azerbaijani?
video, but like he was literally arrested, butt ass naked, no shots, no nothing. But then, so I literally watched it after coming home from the bar because I was still bouncing at the time. It was like 3 a.m. They're showing it all live on CNN. I get up in the next day and they're saying they killed him in a shootout. I can pull up the video if you want.
Would you believe that Tamerlane's wife, the one you're talking about right there, the older brother, his wife is married. He was married to the Skull and Bones, dude. His wife is the granddaughter of the founder of the Skull and Bones, fourth great granddaughter, Russell, of the founder of the Skull and Bones.
She
was a Russell.
They're
dude.
Chechnyan. Okay, thank you, Zach.
Well,
I thought they were somewhere. I thought they were
spooks, dude. They're all in
Azerbaijani.
the CIA, dude. They work for the FBI. They're married to the Skull and Bones. Dude, let's get out of town, dude. These are not that's what I'm saying. These are great topics because these narratives were sold and these parapolitical matters are like the film are bullshit.
Yeah, but based on what Kane was just saying, again, I'm gonna have to go with John J. McCloy, the one guy that no one ever fucking knows. Everyone needs to learn who he is. But so when he was on the Warren Commission, his famous quote is that they need to show the world that America is not a banana republic where government can be changed by conspiracy. So he literally told the Warren Commission that they have to find Oswald.
Right. This is after him and the Dulles boys have been setting up the Vietnam War over there in the South Pacific for the previous 10 years before this, right?
After he was the first president of the World Bank, president of the FCR for like 15 years,
Wasn't he the governor or whatever in the post-aftermath of the war there in World War II and all the Nazi shit?
And he got Krupp out, and then he had all his assets returned to him, which are now in Atchison or Keenan's family, the fucking who were one of the six. So that whole fucking thing is suspicious as all hell too. But then he was also the lawyer for the OPEC nations when they took on the Seven Sisters, or as they call it, which was all the old Rockefeller Standard Oil people. But yeah, no, that motherfucker's been involved in everything when he was alive, and it's just one of those names that just casually gets mentioned, like one line out of the whole fucking thing. But then when you look at it, you're like, oh, he's running all this shit.
You make some good points, sir, but rest assured, I do not ignore him. That motherfucker's trying to out JJ me, and I won't have it. So you mean to tell me, Kane, that this fight scene is not a believable fight scene? Like, or you agree with me that Tom Cruise can play a good tall guy who knows how to fight, but he's not really a tall guy who knows how to fight?
I honestly, I don't see what height has to do with anything. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Come
on, dude.
I've knocked out people twice as tall as me.
Dude, I've never lost to a 5'4" man before like Tom Cruise, and nor will I, sir.
He is my height, 5'7". And I doubt I could knock you out, but I've knocked out guys as big as big as you.
Come on. Let's not. What have you been drinking, sir? Have you been drinking?
I haven't taken on 6 at a time though. That's the difference.
So he's kind of an anti-hero, though, right, Kane? He's the
absolutely. He's reluctant. He is, but that's the thing about the anti-hero is you find they're super overqualified, and that's where your second suspension of belief comes in. You could put Joey from Friends in one of these anti-hero positions and get the same result.
Dude, Joey from Friends is not going to have a believable fight scene like this, sir.
How you doing?
He's got the acting depth of a banana. Let's be honest, but he's not Xenu's favorite actor in Hollywood. Let's be honest about it.
He does his own stunts, Tom Cruise.
It's impressive, dude. He straps himself to airplanes and does other weird shit. Who else knows what he does in his off time? Probably kills his stuntman and covers it up. But I'm just saying.
Did his stuntman die? I thought he just fired him. Jonah don't know.
Dude, this is I got it. No, well, first of all, we were talking about.
First of all, I think they sped that scene up, so I think your hero worship is a little misguided.
I did that. I did that, sir. I just want to take a time out here to first recognize this comment from our channel. Thank you, sir, for your dedication to nonsensical comments. Dulles brothers try to stop the dude. They set up an entire situation with these non-governmental organizations starting in 1952 in the South Pacific, which directly was the machinations to start the Vietnam War. Where do you read these things are? I swear, man.
Wow.
This movie,
I like it. Your dedication to silliness is not explainable by reason and logic, but I do understand that your dedication is you are persistent.
I wonder if they were associated with the HR puffing stuff, guys.
I think they're associated with the CIA. And on that note,
what exactly are we looking at here?
What do you mean? What?
Well, I mean, is it the or the?
Is it the Frank or the beans?
Right.
I don't know. It looks like I think it's a little bit of both.
Break some veins! Break some veins!
He was masturbating. How do you get the bean above the Franks?
one of Keith David's finest roles.
Absolute chicanery.
JJ, you were speaking of 1952 in the Pacific. This movie mentions that when they were talking about Reacher, they say he spent some time in the Balkans, which I found very suspect as well too.
Okay, well, so let's get into some of that. So I was going to say that because we see this weird character from somewhere in Russia, right? This Zik Chelovic, right? Which just means prisoner human being. He has no name, right?
But can I also jump in here real quick? Because I also was reminded of something here which we also need to tackle. So the fucking quarter that he used, 68, which would be the assassination of Robert Kennedy, and wasn't it also King that year?
Can you say again? I cut out. I froze up in my end here, sir.
So the quarter was in 1968, which was the assassination of RFK for sure. But wasn't it also
June
King that
68?
year?
Yes, sir.
So that's interesting that the quarter is 68 times assassination in, right?
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of strange stuff embedded in this film in that regard. So we see Tom Cruise get involved because he's going after. He sees on the news that this fellow that he promised to never get out of line again, this Bard fellow who murked all them Blackwater guys in Iraqistan and got away with it. Again, so oftentimes also when we look at these matters of parapolitics, and I'm not trying to ball wash law enforcement authorities in a generalized manner like our channel ball washes Bill Colby and everything the CIA does. But what I will say is this: you can have, in many circumstances, this doesn't pertain to Idaho, obviously, but in many circumstances and major parapolitical events, you do have some on-the-ground detectives who are doing some legitimate objective investigations and work. It's the prosecution that's on the take. And we see that, we see both of those matters on the take in this film, but we do see that matters that do occur like that.
Oh, for sure. Look at the Masons, right? all your 33 degree Masons, and then you have everybody else.
Well, no, I would say, like, for an example, there's obviously a lot of tomfoolery around that. Yes, sir. But what I'm saying is, like, the John Benet Ramsey case, for example, the detectives on the ground did some fine work. The grand jury did their jobs. The prosecutor and other nefarious parties have been putting the lid on that for years.
Attorney generals.
Probably some of that too, right? Probably some of that too. So when we get to these matters, so Cruise starts investigating these things. He sees Barr on the TV, goes to Pittsburgh, meets with that homicide detective, obviously isn't buying his bullshit, but he immediately gets in trouble like we saw in that fight scene with the locals. So this international organization initially tries to employ these local boys, these dopers, to come assault him, right? And then that didn't work out, right? So, but Cruise is onto it and he starts tracking these matters, and that's when we see this I don't know, what is he, Russian? This Russian fellow, the human prisoner being, right? He's he's at least the man we see pulling the strings, at least to what we see in the film, right?
Well, they talk about him being gulags in Siberia. So yeah, he would have been USSR at least, right? You know what I mean? Like, so which one of those fucking shitholes offshoots is, you know, like who knows? But he is at least USSR.
Right. So that's what, and to your point before, Landon, I kind of thought the same thing. So when I didn't catch up the other part. I caught the Balkans part though, because again, when we see this character coming from that part of the world, it makes you wonder. And then when they mention the Balkans, has he had an interaction with this international syndicate before? You know what I mean? In some regard.
Well, that's where I just think back to where, you know, that's where this whole apparatus starts, right? Doing the heroin deals there in the Balkans in the 50s. The whole CIA, you know, dark side of the CIA.
I would argue it still operates there. Look at the Ukraine, Georgia, all the stuff that's been going on over there in recent years.
For sure, dude. It's definitely a breeding ground for that shit. That's no doubt.
Well, it seems to be an operational center for international crime, right? That whole Balkans region.
Sex trade too, you know what I mean? You get into the Czechoslovakians with the sex trade, so.
Well, dude, the Albanians, dude, don't sleep on the Albanians, dude.
Can I just say that, like, when the whole
categorize them as a country?
Can I just say though, like when the whole Ukraine and Russia shit popped off, and everyone's like, "Oh, you guys support Ukraine?" I'm like, "Yeah, I go to the strip club once a month or so. You know, I support Ukraine when I'm at the." Like, I mean, like you can't walk into any strip club in Canada at least and not see like 5 Ukrainians. So like, why the fuck do I care what's on there?
I know what you mean there, sir. And Kane will enjoy this one. When I was stationed in South Korea, all of the they had bars. They weren't necessarily like on their face strip clubs or hooker lounges.
Is this story about butts? Because I like butts.
A lot of butts involved here, sir. They call them juicy lounges. The women would dance on the stage, shaking their butts on bikinis in like a stripper stage, right? But they call them juicy bars, dude. And you know, it'd be like a nightclub, stripper club, weird, you know, environment, hooker club. Because then you'd pay the mama son, the lady that ran the place, and then you get the Ukrainian hooker, or we had a lot of Ukrainians there. We had a lot of a lot of Eastern, you know, the Eastern Bloc, the former USSR nations, right? You know, the Kyrgyzstans, dude. Some Czech stuff, dude. Yeah, dude. All them white ladies.
And there's another situation that happened by accident at the fall of the Berlin Wall, because a guard misinterpreted an instruction. They took down the whole wall, and everybody hated it so much they just kept going.
I don't know if that's an accurate depiction of the events that transpired.
That's exactly. I have receipts.
Do you have a piece of the wall? If you have a piece of the wall, I'll believe you.
I have the album, The Wall. I don't have a piece of the actual.
That's close enough. I believe you then. You substantiated enough for me.
So just so you know, that excellent that I threw in our private chat, if you want to throw that in the comments or whatever, that's a little X clip that I made showing temporarily our day of being arrested live.
Say again, sir. You came in broken and unreadable. Please repeat.
The link I threw in the private chat here. If you throw it up for
link
everyone.
in chats, yes, sir.
That's the Tamerlane Sunday of being arrested live on TV, but yet Wikipedia tells us he died from gunshot.
Yeah, let's watch that stuff. So before we watch this is my recounting of the events. There was some sort of standoff with local authorities on a streetway because allegedly they killed some Harvard PD guy and robbed a store, which there was no evidence of these matters. In fact, speaking of evidence, the evidence they used in the actual trial of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the younger brother, the one that didn't allegedly get murked here, the one that wasn't married to the Russell family. So he apparently when they prosecuted that fella, they used pictures of a black backpack, I think it was, and they had gray backpacks or silver backpacks in the footage. It was a wrong color backpack, nonetheless, whichever way it went. And that, you know, that's weird, right?
Biden commuted every death sentence other than him.
Yeah, strange, right?
I don't know if there's sound on the video though, so.
Yeah, I don't think there is any sound. It's up right now, but it ain't doing nothing.
So I just did. I just showed all like the Wikipedia shit saying that he was a respiratory arrest and fucking gunshots to the torso. And then what's coming after is the video of him being arrested.
Yeah, so I saw a different shot of this from someone's second story window on a cell phone footage.
This is the one that aired on the CNN because you see they blurred it out. It didn't even lie.
Yeah, dude, and they said that they would later prosecute his brother for running him over with the car, right?
Yeah, but there's gunshots to the torso, but you can see no blood, no nothing, and he's in fucking butt ass naked, right? So what gunshot?
Right, but isn't the story is he got shot up, but his brother also escapes and in their own SUV running over his own brother allegedly, but we see his own brother walking naked in handcuffs, right?
Yeah, but that was funny because, like I say, like I worked at the bar. I literally came home from the bar, and I just always throw on the fucking news, whatever. It's background noise. So I watched him get arrested fucking live, and then I wake up and the next day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he was shot dead. It was being apprehended." I'm like, "Oh, for real?" Huh.
I see Kane has cloned you, Landon.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. I didn't know if he was glitched out or not.
He likes to do that. He's a eugenicist. He likes to clone people.
Joseph Mengele.
He's the Joseph Mengele of podcasting.
I'm all about advancing the species, Landon.
We need a clip. You need to clip that and put that in your intro, Kane.
Oh, it might make it in there. You never know. My reel this week is just by happenstance. It's going to be as excellent as when George Washington Carver landed at Plymouth Rock with Chris Christopherson. I'm going to tell you right now.
I don't think that's an actual event. When did this happen?
In the 70s. Obviously, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence.
I'm going to have to say bullshit, sir. Bullshit.
I have receipts.
JJ, who says that? Speaking of Chris Kyle, you got to mention Jesse Ventura in that too. He says, "I call bullshit."
Oh, is that a saying?
I've been a frog man. What does he say? I've been a frog man. I've been a wrestler.
Oh, well, I don't know, but if you're on that subject, you can watch and laugh at Jesse Ventura, but Anthony Cumia does the best Jesse Ventura known to man. While you're bringing up a clip of my brain hole that reminds me of that.
No, you got to hear their actual wrestler, Christian Cross, I think's his name. He does it pretty good. He does it pretty good, Jesse.
Is that a real person?
Supercross?
No, he's a wrestler now. Something Cross.
Wasn't Jesse Ventura center?
What is this?
Jesse Ventura was a senator in Minnesota.
Jesse Ventura got sued by Chris Kyle because they got into a fight over some shit. He made some defamation statements.
That's what I was referring to. He said he hit him. Chris Kyle said he punched him, and Jesse said, "You didn't hit me. I'm down in the Baja 6 months out of the year.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not even an American citizen."
Yeah, dude. Hold on.
The only real beef, brother, was between the Hulkster and that giant guy when he picked him up and threw him.
How far back it went.
Since you were talking about wrestling, right? Since we're talking about wrestling, can I just say, like, this whole fucking Raja Jackson thing, I don't know why anyone thinks it's actually real. Like, why would you think it's anything other than a fucking work? That's just me.
Oh, what happened?
Rampage Jackson's kid allegedly, and the whole fucking thing is just weird as shit because they're like, oh, he smashed a beer can on him, but then they're like in a backyard which is open, but then he jumps in the ring afterwards and attacks a guy who allegedly ends up in the hospital, critical, but now he's stable.
Will Sasso.
I'm like, this is just like some shit organization. They got like some guy with a halfway decent name because of his father, and they're just trying to push like whatever. But I mean, the whole thing just seems
Rampage Jackson, the guy from the A-Team movie.
No, his son Raja.
B.A. Baracus.
His son Raja.
Yeah, but he played B.A. Baracus in the A-Team movie. I kind of like that one. I know the Will Sasso, dude. Check out this one though. You're gonna like this one. But let's ruminate on this for a moment. Speaking of Minnesota politics in these deep state parapolitical affairs, isn't it weird that old Jesse Ventura became the governor up there and started spreading lies about how the CIA tried to intercede on him? Right? Wasn't that his first story? Like, oh, the CIA came to talk to me. Did they really, Jesse? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Or don't you work for them? You know what I mean? they called you. They came to talk to you because you work for them, bud. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
you got to admit though, JJ, he was pushing on the 9/11 stuff. So I mean, I'll give him that. You know,
Pushing
He
what
was
though?
on
That's what I'm
CNN.
saying, dude. He was kind of a part of like he was like a competing project Alex Jones, if you ask me.
Oh, that's interesting.
If you bring up Will Sasso, you have to bring up Super Troopers 2, which is the most underrated, awful movie of all time. Absolute terrible plot. But
wait a
Will
second,
Sasso
you bite
in
your
that
tongue,
movie,
sir. That was a fantastic film.
I loved it. But what's his name? Ken Burns came in and ruined it. But you have Will Sasso as a French-Canadian trooper or Mountie or whatever they have up
easy
there.
now, Ken. We got a Canadian in the house, sir.
My bad. I'm sorry, Joshua or Jonah. And he does that French-Canadian accent so well that if you start to imitate it, you'll start talking that way to everyone you know, and they'll think you're crazy. I think that's what happened.
I think that someone on my floor would steal all my packages, and I also.
What's that, sir?
I was saying, if you pull up the screen that I'm sharing too, did you know that Jesse was also a Mongols?
Yeah, dude, I've seen him wearing them colors before, dude.
Yeah, so
that's what I'm saying, dude. This guy's super suspect, if you ask me, dude. He's super suspect.
Not
because you go out to South Dakota there, and you hang out with the dirty bikers at the thing at the whole
up in Minnesota.
They let you do what you want, you know. Florida's a biker state.
This was when he was with the Navy, though. Like, so
yeah,
Mongols,
dude.
right? It's California base, and you know,
and then always answers a question with a question. Well, I don't know.
Dude,
Why don't you?
He pushes reptiles, dude. He pushes he pushes a weird agenda, dude. He pushes a weird agenda.
It's like a ecstasy agenda, right? It's like if Jesse was on ecstasy, like the conspiracy plot makers were like, let's make this guy on ecstasy. You know what I mean? That's kind of what Jesse is.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Ecstasy was actually started as a psychological tool.
Can I just jump in here?
Psychiatric.
Can I just jump in?
So how did that involve you wanting to tell me this in private?
No, it's because it kept going. When I kept searching as to why the things were stolen, I basically figured out, I stumbled into something, and the something is, it's basically, it's the craziest shit you could imagine.
Well, let me know.
Like, it's essentially like I think they're, I believe they're referred to as like 14 eyes. It's like a spying agency.
Is it like the Illuminati? It's something like the Illuminati. So you're saying UPS is involved with the CIA and the FBI? Is that what you're saying? I don't have time to bleed. I was a governor, a fighter, a Navy SEAL. The eye model for the dollar bill. That was me. So what else happened? What was tied into UPS?
It was, I think it was just probably one driver, but it was basically there was a hacking organization.
Hacking organization. Did a man sound like Chip Chipperson when he hacked you? Because I got hacked by Chip Chipperson. He was using the HARP machine, which bends time.
Machine. Jesse loves those.
He looked over my shoulder when I made my password up years ago, but then used the HARP time-bending machine.
Yep, sounds about right.
I was a fighter, a Navy SEAL, a UPS driver. So then what happened?
6'3".
I guess I'd need to.
How does this one man fit into the organization?
This is good. I haven't seen this before.
Oh, this is fantastic. I love this. My favorite.
It would just come off like really silly on the phone.
Well,
I'm sorry, man.
You could call it silly. I believe 9/11 was perpetrated by Daffy Duck. I have the proof. You heard them say, stand down to the fire department.
The head nod is getting me.
Oh, it's fantastic, dude.
This guy is
This hurts my head.
The body.
That's the problem with
You're right.
Venturas. You
So,
You
I
can't
think
get a
right
word
there-
in edgewise with him, and he's such an idiot that
There you
there's
go.
no point in trying to sway his opinion.
There you go. So that's the purpose he serves. And I think Kumi, that clip to me captures the whole Ventura situation altogether. He's a damn
great.
fool, and he makes these things look foolish, and then he takes it to a new level of foolishness. A lot of tomfoolery involved, if you will. A lot of shenanigans, not the good kind. And on top of that, dude, we see a circumstance where, again, he's easy to point to, like, oh, you believe in that shit? Have you seen that guy? What are you doing, that guy?
But my
JJ,
question-
you're Sorry, Johnny. You go ahead, buddy.
Did he ever really retire, or was he just cheap dipped?
That's what I'm saying, dude. And we see him saying, like, oh, the CIA met me in the governor's office in Minnesota. Go fuck yourself, Jesse.
JJ,
like
you're
that-
killing me here. You're destroying my childhood dreams, brother. I thought he was a real American
Dude,
patriot.
I think you really stumbled
He was a
upon
governor. He
something.
was a
good
fighter.
topic here, JJ, is that they have dumbed down the American public so much that they actually believe that wrestling is real, where they'll actually fight each other over the
Wait a
fact
second, sir.
of whether it's real or not.
I'll
And then
come
when
to
it
the
comes to
screen
matters
after.
of national security, they just believe whatever Dan Rather has to tell them about.
Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
You know, let's not get
Vince McMahon versus
that's-
Trump, right?
That's an excellent point you make there, Kane. I do agree with you, sir. That is part of the psyop. That's what I mean. And these are mind fucks, dude. Where folks will
Let's
go
not forget-
battle about some dumb shit like that, but then you'd be like, hey man, check this out. And like, no. They go fucking Looney Tunes about it, man.
Yeah, no, who's not gonna lose their mind when
Yeah,
the
JJ, you just
Hulkster
crushed-
takes the stage and
crushed
they
me.
got
Yeah,
all the
brother.
lights and cannons, and you start to invest yourself like in monster trucks. You know, it seems like the dumbest sport that you could possibly come up with, but when you go to it, it's
Well, now
like the
you're-
most
You got my
exciting
vote on
thing
that.
you could ever do.
Dude, Gravedigger's real. I don't care what you say, Gamey. I don't give a shit, bro. Gravedigger for life.
So we see these mass narratives about around all these very criminal, I would call hood rat shit situations revolving matters of national security, and things get written off as like, the lone nuts, or we could never tell you who did this. We would have no idea. Meanwhile, because they got their heads so far up their asses intentionally, they're not even looking for it. So we see fellas like this. So y'all are probably familiar with the Danny Casolaro promise software, Michael Riconosciuto mess of the Iran-Contra business, right?
For sure.
This man was one of his sources. He worked for the Treasury Department as an undercover agent in the Treasury Department, dude. He got kidnapped, poisoned with some weird hallucinogen, had some weird dollar bill with a half-coded messages tied to his underwear, which would later, the other half with the other coded message would be found on his dead body days later. Dude, this is a whole weird circumstance, dude.
Yeah, but there
Bro,
was
that
nothing.
guy
just-
you showed me, JJ. One of your
Yeah,
friends.
this guy?
No, the one dude you sent me in our show out of the DC area that was murdered.
But there's nothing suspicious about Seth Rich, and they
Dude,
definitely don't
No, totally an accident. He probably fell down and hurt himself, dude.
don't need to release his computer for 75 years, and then when the judge says they have to, they misplace it. But that's just how
But
the way shit
that's a
runs.
great example, sir. Isn't that an example of what we're talking about, where this is an internal dispute and feud where so these false narratives and these large events? Like, for example, Seth Rich personally knew Warren Buffett, the inventor of the buffet.
But let's not forget, all the right-wing retards are fucking just lining up for a bukkake with fucking Trump and Musk and fucking Thiel. That they're like, oh, the National
Don't forget
Guard.
JFK Jr. He's still alive. Trust the plan.
That's human nature. That
I
people
heard
wanna
today
feel a
that
part of
Newsom is
something.
going to be the next president of the United States.
You mean
That he won't just be California's problem.
No,
It'll
He's
be
got
everybody's.
my vote,
You mean
brother.
Otto von Bullshit Jr., the SS Nazi officer son?
The chicks dig him, from what I understand.
Yeah, the
Hey,
chicks
listen,
dig
Jay,
Nazis,
I got a
huh?
show on Not Kane B If you want to join me after you guys are done, I gotta get to my.
Who are you? Are you rage quitting me here in the middle of the program, sir? How dare you? I appreciate you joining us. Do you have any commentary on? Oh, he really did rage quit. Holy shit! All right. Well, I was looking for that picture on Audivon bullshit, but he rage quit the shit out of this place. All right. Well, not Kane B's. Folks can go check that out tonight, apparently. And Kane B's the Purge, circa every Monday-ish.
I just love your
where folks can check out your fast food news, type 2 diabetes talk, and occasionally an Idaho 4 update or two on the Idaho 4 case. What do you have, sir?
I just love your response when I was like, hey, did you ever see Gavin Newsom's Nazi father out of von Balswing? And you're like, what? And then you look at the photo, you're like, holy fuck.
Yeah, dude. It's so obvious once you look at it, dude. That's what I'm saying. It's really important to understand who is your daddy and what does he do when it comes to these matters of parapolitics, because these things get shit coded and sold to us like they did in the film, where there's this lone nut killer, right?
Speaking of
they're doing lone nut shit.
The Franklin scandal there with ties to Warren Buffett as well there in Lincoln, Nebraska. So
yeah, dude. But I don't know, dude. So like
1950s. Come on, he's a good guy.
He's a philanthropist,
dude. They have wiped the photo of Warren Buffett and Seth Rich from the interwebs. Holy shit! I can't find it. I mean, I have it saved somewhere, but I just wanted to Google search it to see where we're at in life. Not here.
You really did crush my dreams, JJ, with the whole Jesse Ventura thing, man. I was really hoping he was a real American patriot.
Real American? Yeah, he's a fighter. I was a governor. I was a fighter.
I was a frog man.
Yeah, so he was an underwater.
He wasn't a SEAL.
Well, I mean, so he was there before the SEALs. His underwater demo teams got rolled up into the SEALs, kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean,
I just love how he answers the question with a question every time. Though, if you listen,
what do you mean?
Any of his podcasts, I don't know. Why don't you tell me what I said? That's all he says, like every 10 seconds.
If we're talking like the old underwater demo team, let's just be honest. The Richard Marchenko books are fucking amazing. And again, Pennsylvania ties into the fucking movie tonight. But those Dick Marchenko books are fucking hilarious. And the fact that they spent like a couple $1 million to put him in fucking prison for like 1 year just for the shit he released in his books. That shit's all.
I don't know this tale, sir. When did this occur?
Oh fuck! You don't know about Richard Marchenko? I'll send you the shit.
I know about Richard Marchenko, but when did he go to prison?
96, when he released the first book. They spent like fucking 5 years investigating.
So is he a John Kirkow 1.0? Is that what we're talking here?
He didn't get the security clearance. That's why the first book is authentic or autobiography, and the rest of the series is just nonfiction, or is fiction. I mean. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, dude. Are we dealing with a John Kirkow situation, and he the CIA guy that lets him went to prison for a book he wrote? Am I getting the wrong guy wrong?
That's the podcaster, right?
Yeah, he does podcasts now, but didn't he go to prison for a while or some shit? Maybe. Hold on, I'll look it up before I start making shit up myself.
Yeah, I went to prison.
Mr. Mockingbird himself, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying, dude. So is Richard? I know. I actually didn't know he went to prison. I'm familiar with some of the tales of Richard Marchenko, but are we dealing with a situation like this new guy, right?
No, they actually went and well, I shouldn't say like who cares because they could do whatever, but they went and fucking interviewed him in prison with Dan Rather, I think. Let's see here.
Well, what's the frequency, Kenneth? Is that what he screamed at him? That's what I would have screamed at him. Yeah, John Kirkow. Yes, that's him.
Yeah,
so please tell us more about Richard Marchenko's situation, sir. I apologize for interrupting you there.
So he was indicted. It says conspiracy, conflict of interest, lying to the government in connection with a kickback of $113,000 paid. So as far as I understand, though, no, it says he went to prison. I thought it was for his book, but it says that he went to prison for 21 months in federal prison.
Let's give the folks the proper kickoff here in description. This guy invented SEAL Team 6 by describing it as SEAL Team 6, despite there not being SEAL Teams 1 through 5, but in a manner in which to psychologically terrorize the opponent, right?
Yeah. And he also
And that happened in Operation Eagle Claw, did it not? In Iran Contra, right, sir?
No, SEAL Team 6 was part of right after Vietnam, wasn't it? Or part of Vietnam. Was it?
No, I think this is all machinations of
like 68, 69.
We had feuding special forces operations in Iran Contra. They created Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 in around that same time.
Yeah, but that Chuck Norris movie was fucking great, bro. And I went to see that.
Right here, look, see.
Like 8 or 10 years
During
old.
the Iran hostage there we go. Hold on a second. Iran hostage crisis in 1979. Marchenko was one of 2 Navy representatives for a Joint Chiefs of Staff task force known as TAT, Terrorist Action Team. Get a better name. The purpose of TAT was to develop a plan to free the American hostages held in Iran, which culminated in Operation Eagle Claw. So they had this dude, and then we had the Delta Force guy. They're like, hey, we got the Army guys can do this better. And they're like, the Navy guys. So we had feuding fucking spec ops guys doing this shit. We had Ross Perot with CIA guys on a C-130, dude. We had Ben Affleck, dude, in that one movie, Argo, that he was involved in. I've seen it.
Yeah, but look at under it, though.
What a weird environment.
He also created Red Cell. If you look right under the
right, dude. But what a like how many when we're looking at these parapolitical forces, international gangsters, and deep state politics, I think a lot of times folks think like, oh, well, they're all on the same team. They weren't on the same team, and that motherfucker, dude. We had like 4 feuding outfits of special forces folks. Yeah. Again, to create our environment today with Delta Force, CAG, SEAL Team 6, DevGru.
Wait, can I just point out, you get fucking Edward Snowden, who's a fucking CIA agent, who gets a job as a fucking Bruce Hamilton and goes and leaks only NSA documents. And then
it's very suspicious.
It disappeared to Russia, of course, but at the same time, the guy who released the Vault 6 stuff, of course, they didn't get him on the Vault 6 stuff, I don't believe, but they got him on the CP, which they obviously put on his computer. Now I should be worried about that on my own now. But
Are we sure Edward Snowden's not a hologram?
I'm
not convinced of it.
Every time you see him, anytime you see him, though,
what was?
He's like a fucking, he's like, there's no leg, there's no nothing. It's like he's like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. And I watched that motherfucker. That motherfucker's not real, to quote that lady in the plane. I watched Edward Snowden glitch out in an interview with Brian Williams circa 2014. And again, like you point out, they never show. I mean, again, it's really suspect, dude. It's really suspect.
You have the whole Glenn Greenwald aspect with whatever the fuck her name is, Laura, and then Jeremy Scahill. Was Jeremy Scahill?
Yeah, he's the one that broke the news, right? He's the one that broke that shit, right?
No, Glenn Greenwald was the one that he contacted, but I'm the Jeremy
Snowden.
The Assassination Complex. Read that book?
No, I haven't. No. What's it called? Assassination Complex?
Yeah, by Jeremy Scahill, Scahill. So that entire book is the leak of all the fucking Afghanistan shit. So not only after doing the Snowden shit, the other guy who creates the Intercept with the fucking Glenn Greenwald is the one who releases all the. And then, like, dude, I think it's chapter 8 specifically where they're talking about not stingrays, but even a higher technology where they're just like have planes up that aren't. They're actually acting as the fucking tower.
Oh, I do recall this book. I've never read it. I do recall this book because what folks don't often realize is that Obama, aka Barry Soetoro, he murked an American citizen with a drone. Extrajudiciously, if you will.
So did Trump accidentally get the sister, right?
Oh shit! Trump did the same thing. I was unfamiliar with that. He got the no. Obama got the father and the son.
Then Trump got the sister, if I'm not mistaken.
I did not know that, sir. That'd be interesting to find out. I will look that up in a second. It is interesting to note that that fellow that we're talking about, the American citizen born in Houston, murked, I believe, in Yemen, along with a 16-year-old son who did absolutely nothing wrong by any means of any stretches. But that dude was an advisor to the Pentagon, dude.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Trump.
What's his name? Alawahi? What are we calling his name? What are we? Phil Alawahi? What are we calling him?
What's that?
What's dude's name?
Which one?
The American
Dude.
citizen fellow. Is it Alawahi or something like that?
Looking it up right now.
Yeah, I'm looking it up too. I forgot the damn name of the guy. They all sound the same to me. That sounds weird, but it's accurate. to my
JJ,
brain.
what was that guy's name that was running
Alawaki. I can't pronounce. It's not Alawahi. Alawalaki. A-L. Here we, dude. Fuck this. I can't. I don't know how to pronounce these. I never knew how to pronounce these names, dude.
Yeah.
I think they call it Alawalhi. I think it's pronounced Alawalhi, but it's spelled Ala fucking Walkie, dude. Learn how to spell, people.
I'm just trying to figure out. I'm pretty sure the daughter got it too. Fucking, but I'm just looking it up right now.
Yeah, dude. But there's pictures of this dude with the fucking upper echelon of the Pentagon, and I think back in like 2001 as an official emissary, dude.
And according to this, he was linked to the Natal Hassan, the Fort Hood shooting.
Yeah, dude, he was his cleric, dude. That's a good point. I forgot about that one.
Oh, wait. His father... Oh, this is even better. So, Al-Waki, his father was a Fulbright scholar.
Typical, dude. But Bill Clinton's dad, old William Halfbright. I don't see... Wait, we got a daughter here? Daughter, yep. Daughter was killed. You're right, by Trump. Good call, sir.
Yeah. So Obama took out the father.
So basically, our last couple presidents just have no problems because Biden was there too. Obviously, have no problems murking American citizens because these people are American citizens extrajudiciously. An obvious gross violation of their rights, and that's what we see here time after time in these major parapolitical events. We're not necessarily murking them in a expressly in a manner, but we're murking them in a metaphorical manner.
Yeah, but you're frozen. But I was just gonna point out though too, and I'll point it out when he gets back. But at least the Obama dropped the drones. Fucking this 8-year-old girl was taken out during.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back.
So,
but these aren't good arguments for me. If he could be connected to 9/11, he could fuck his own mother. We have courts, we have due process. You know what I mean? And not the least of which, this dude, this Alawaki guy, we're not sold the right narratives. This dude was into some. I'm not saying he wasn't guilty of anything. I'm not saying he was innocent of anything. I'm just saying we don't know the whole story.
But let's be honest. So his daughter was 8 years old when she was killed in a raid. But you watched all the fucking movies and all the SEAL books, but they never fucking missed the target. But and I don't know if it was SEALs or it says it was conducted by Joint Special Operations Command, U.S. Navy SEAL and 3 Al-Qaeda leaders.
They all get their hands in the mix, right? All of them do, right? In that mix.
So, that's your North Carolina boys, Anna JJ, the JSOC down there, right?
Well, let's be honest about the situation. They're not my boys. I don't take accountability for these folks.
Oh,
you know what I mean.
I have shook the hand of Pete Shoemaker before. He's not a fan of me, so I do know a lot of folks in that community. Yes, sir. Pete Shoemaker's a 4-star general that would start JSOC. Don't tell him you know. Don't tell him you know me. If you see him, I don't know if he's still alive, but if you see him, don't tell me you know me. It's not.
What's his name? Was Green Beret, right? Shoot.
You tell me, sir.
The guy for that murdered his family Manson style and down there in North Carolina, Fort Bragg murders.
Well, we got a lot of murders down there at the old Fort Bragg. Not a lot of good stuff going on down there, if you ask me.
No, what's the guy's name? The old guy still in jail today.
Oh, dude, are you talking about Captain? I was about to call him Larry McDonald. Wait, it is Larry McDonald.
Larry McDonald, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Green Beret Special Forces. He probably passed his exams, unlike that dilly bastard Aquino. Dude, you can't convince me that dude passed any kind of physical fitness for Special Forces stuff. Dude, get out of here, dude.
No.
Yeah, but do you guys know about Russell Williams?
No.
Oh shit, this dude is still alive, dude. He's a real son of a bitch. I'll tell you, to be honest with you, fellas. This is the guy who invented JSOC. Pete Shoemaker. I was spelling his name wrong.
I didn't realize it was
two U's. It's Shoemaker. Skew makers. I
Look
bet
at the
our
ears on
channel's
the
got
bo-
some good stuff to say about this guy. Maybe next he'll tell us that the son of the SS officer who was the Joint Chief of Staff there in the 90s for old Slick Willie, maybe he'll tell us that he was a nice guy.
So, JJ, since if you bring up the one that I'm sharing here, since you are Air Force, it's Russell
Yes, sir.
Williams. He was a colonel. He was like the highest member of the Air Force here in Canada. If you look here, so details victims: 86 known to killed. He was the
dude, I remember this guy. I remember hearing about this guy, dude.
He was cross-dresser and shit, but
he just got found out about a decade ago, right?
Yeah,
I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, he was actually fucking. He was also the head security at the Vancouver Olympics, but he was a cross-dresser and possibly serial killer. Evidence showed he had broken into
strong possibility serial killer, right?
Yeah. It says here though, I'll zoom in, but it says evidence shows that he broke into at least 82 houses to steal women's and girls' underwear, which later
Totally
escalated
normal.
Sexual assaults.
Dude, all Army officers do that, right? All Army officers do that.
Yeah. But no, there's a bunch of photos of him cross-dressing and shit. But of course, like, so he's the head, like the highest. But again, too, I mean, it's all under the Commonwealth. But you look at his birthplace, Bromsgrove, England. So.
Yeah, well, it's all under the Queen's, now the King, I guess, right?
Yeah. You mean
so? When we see all these parapolitical matters, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if Kane was. I think he was bullshitting. Well, let's be honest with you again. RR, you're my number one suspect, but that is a legitimate question. I don't have a hat. My headband is off to you, sir. That is a legitimate question. I will recognize that when you do bring up some good points. But you're still my number one suspect. I want to know where you were. Was it 96 in Southern Maryland? Where were you at, RR? Give me some details.
I'm putting money on Bill Buckley.
Bill Buckley. I don't know him, but let's. My money's on Bill Blatsky. So when we're
him and his father were both CIA. He did all the debates. It's not his name, or William F. Buckley. That's it, not Bill Buckley. But he did all.
I know you're talking about. I just want to insert a Bill Blatsky comment.
Okay.
It's an old Saturday Night Live bit. I really enjoy it. Bill Blatsky. So
I thought that Bill Cosby. Anyways, I read that wrong.
Bill Cosby. You mean Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor? You think I'm getting Bill Cosby lived 80 feet from Jeffrey Epstein's front door right across the street. You think he didn't Cosby dance his way over there to a couple parties with some of them Jello pudding pops? I think you're wrong if you think otherwise, sir.
Hey, pudding pops are best when fucking Spanish fly. Let's be honest.
Right, dude. That's what I'm saying. So, like, a lot of this stuff is in our face. We just want to believe it. Bill Cosby used to joke about drugging women. The reason why I'm so familiar with this comedy bit you describe is because the Air Force's version of alcohol. I used to get in a lot of alcohol problems in the Air Force, especially early in my career. I had 4 underage drinkings and a DUI in my first 2.5 years. Shocked they didn't throw me out. Anyhow, each time I had those occurrences, the DUI was underage as well. Each time I had those occurrences, I had to go to therapy, if you will. They call it alcohol counseling or whatever. It literally consisted of me going to sit in a room for a few days watching Bill Cosby stand-up bits about drugs, dude. And, that's the fucking Muppet world we live in because, obviously maybe they didn't know he was a raper back then. But nonetheless, he's joking about raping women in my alcohol counseling, sessions I'm forced to go to.
No, but everyone kind
world.
of he was
under MK Ultra.
He was so tied up with Temple University that they just covered it up. There's a bunch of fucking payoffs along the way. So I mean,
who murdered his son? That's a weird murder.
And since we're talking about the Cosby, Philadelphia, and fucking Muff bits, Kevin, never mind.
Let's hear for the Muppets.
I was going to bring up Dr. Kermit, which was just really Dr. Kermit.
So right. So we see all these matters though, like we're describing here, these major parapolitical events. And again, we oftentimes, you gentlemen join me here in Operation GCD, and I thank y'all joining me here tonight to get a little GCD. But we point out small circles, Colby's queers, if you will. Pete Shoemaker, again, a man we were describing as a major figure in this current state of affairs with these drone fucking attacks on assassinations of American citizens within the Joint Special Operations Command, and all the other hood rat shit going on out of Fort Bragg's drug, sex, murder, rock and roll, dude, all sorts of weird shit. They got folks working with the Mexican cartels down there. That ain't a new thing. It's an ongoing enterprise. And we got shitholes, shit stains on America like this fucker, who, again, look at all the stuff he's involved in. Eagle Claw, your Urgent Fury in Grenada, dude. Just Cause in Panama, dude. Dude, when they raided Panama, dude, here's a good fun tale for y'all. When they raided Panama and, the cocaine deals that are going on down there, they had to go get the old cocaine. We got to go stop this drug lord down there in Panama. Yeah, they were employing that drug lord, by the way, Noriega. And nonetheless, when they raided the spot, dude, the DEA cites that he had a Madame Mordo style fucking ritual altar in his fucking palace right in his main situation. So it's all drugs and Satanism fucking murder shit, dude.
Wow.
But
that's Pineapple Head, right, JJ?
Yeah, Noriega, the pineapple face fella. Now, the one they don't talk about right now, speaking of all these kind of drug matters and these narco Satanist terrorism shit, the guy that basically invented all the Mexican cartels, who's been held in Mexican prison for like 32 years for murking a DEA agent back in, I think, 87 or some dumb shit. I could be making those dates up. It's been a while. His name is, it'll come back to me, Gutierrez. That's not it. Quintero. So he just got shipped to the U.S. So there's a lot of weird shit going on with these matters.
Well, hey, don't forget though too, when Kiki got killed, there was that CIA agent that was from Iran Contra, Felix. I think it was.
Yes, sir. Not that there was another guy down there that Michael Riconosciuto, Landon's favorite guy, Danger Man, names in some of his stuff, some of his interviews and depositions, and he names a guy out of Westchester County, New York, a real den of iniquity. He was the SEAL team commander on Just Cause in Panama, and his guys allegedly got murked. That did happen, and he then turned against the United States, apparently, in these deep state machinations. But he was also on the ground with Pete Shoemaker in Operation Eagle Claw back there when SEAL Team 6 was invented.
Rob O'Neill definitely shot Osama and the rest of his team.
Yeah, so did the other 7 guys, right? The other 7 guys who wrote books, they all shot Osama, right? They all shot him, right?
Now they all have podcasts, JJ.
That's
now they all have podcasts along with the mafia and the CIA. Dude, what a joke what a Muppet world we live in, dude. We got 7 dudes who claim to shot Osama. They all have podcasts. CIA's got podcasts. The mafia's got podcasts. They scream at each other about being rats. Dude, we live in a Muppet world, dude.
JJ, it's crazy, you know what I mean? You're talking, it's like that meme of Spider-Man of pointing at himself with like 7 different Spider-Mans. That's what I.
Yeah, they're the FBI, right? They're all feds, right?
Yeah.
But I just realized though, right? When you're talking about Shoemaker, that's the name of the fucking wag dog. So obviously they're tying into that.
Yeah, dude. Peter Jan Schumacher. He's a Dutchman.
The good old shoe song, right? Where they fucking go throw a Willie Nelson makes the song, and then they fucking throw it in the Library of Congress, act like it's been there for 60 years.
Yeah, it's a legend.
Everyone, like, after they hear it like 10 times, they're like, oh yeah, I remember this one my whole life. So
I love how Wikipedia paints Bill Clinton's chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff as not the son of a Nazi, despite being the son of an SS Nazi. He was also the Supreme Allied Commander for NATO, but that was started by the Nazis, so that makes sense.
Yep, 100%.
Well, for example, Hitler's chairman of his Joint Chiefs of Staff, or the equivalent thereof for the Nazis, was the fucking Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, dude. So it's not like that's what I'm saying. We live in a Muppet world. We're just now realizing it, but we're sold narratives and plot lines like the one in tonight's film, the 2012 cinematic masterpiece, Jack Reacher, right? So why do you think it is that Tom Cruise here, Xenu's favorite actor in Hollywood, the man who likes to play a tall guy who knows how to fight, does it pretty well, in fact, one of my favorites at least. What do you think it is he's always doing these kind of spooky narratives about? What's that about? What's going on here?
I think that's penis syndrome, so he's like a short, Yeah, he's got to like play the big guy because he isn't the big guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's
Yeah,
my
I kind of agree with Jonah.
So why do you think he's always doing these Mission Impossible? Because E. Howard Hunt went to his deathbed claiming that this Mission Impossible character, going back to the TV show in the '60s, was based off of him.
Well, fuck that. But since you love
Well,
Idaho,
he says that's why they changed the name to Hunt, though, in the film. Specifically, he said it was the character was based off of him beforehand, but then they formally changed it to the character in the film of Hunt, right? That is his character, E. Hunt, right? Ethan Hunt.
yeah, but shit, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Well, I agree with you. E. Howard Hunt's full of shit in many respects, but what I'm saying there is, isn't it interesting, though, right? Isn't it interesting?
You know, and well, here's what's really interesting, though, too, right? Is everyone talks about the church fucking committee, and then first off, I'm just gonna point out to you that he's the Democratic congressman from Idaho. Anyways, I'll let you sit on that one.
Yeah, and on top of that, we get the Nelson Rockefeller committee to follow up the church committee. Like, yeah, go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, but before that, what I wanted to get to is, though, you know, they're like, oh yeah, the CIA had they worked back channels. Dude, you can't fucking turn on Fox News, fucking MSNBC, CNN, any of these channels today without seeing retired CIA. Get the fuck out,
dude.
Sean Hannity.
Speaking of Iran-Contra, sir, and folks born in Iran, I believe, or at least grew up there, Peter Strzok and his buddy Andrew McKay, both fired for malfeasance and tomfoolery and, quite honestly, treasonous acts from the FBI by their own oversight committee. Work for CNN, dude. Like, what the fuck, dude? You know what I mean?
Forget
what Anderson Cooper, right? He's Vanderbilt.
Well, then you got Muppet Mikey Aquino's QAnon hero general Paul Valle. He's on Fox News. We got him over there.
Yeah, but don't forget, I showed you all that Peter Strzok stuff where he's literally in fucking Iran in 1979 as doing the hometown paper articles where he's like, I was working for Bell Helicopter, and then he quits Bell Helicopter, goes to Eritrea. And
Eritrea, huh? That's an interesting spot, dude. I know that spot.
Somewhere over there, where he's the manager for Christian Relief. Like, you go from Bell Helicopter to
relief Christians.
Yeah,
well, that's the money.
He was probably, I know what he was doing.
I
know what he's really doing, Jonah. He was Pete Shoemaker's towel boy over in Iran back in Tel Aviv. Tehran, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's obviously his not.
Yeah, his cover story was his Bell Helicopter stuff. He's really Pete Shoemaker's towel boy. We solved that mystery, sir.
Yeah. And then, back in the day, they would do their small hometown paper interviews, right? And they didn't think about the internet after later.
That's a good point. I always make that point, dude. We have this concept that folks understood what was going on 40, 200, 100 years ago. They couldn't plan for the interwebs or, one other example, DNA tests. They'll do some stuff. No one could plan when you're doing weird shit with genetics a couple decades ago. No one can plan for DNA tests. That's what I'm saying. They couldn't plan for the interwebs. Like, speaking of Idaho, and one of my favorite characters in the satanic serial killer, Edward Wayne Edwards, they couldn't plan for the interwebs when they filed both of his marriage licenses under both of his identities, one of which was issued by the CIA, according to his own admission, and by all available evidence would indicate such.
Do you think, JJ, do you think those people's codes break their wiring? Do you think maybe they're not all Manchurian candidates? Maybe they were in a program of sorts and then kind of fall out of it and then go rogue. I've always wondered that.
100%. I like where your brain hole's at, so that's precisely what I think.
I mean, which ones?
Because then you can't admit it, right? Then you can't admit it because then they would divulge a lot of other shit. You have to, then you have to be culpable and have accountability. Right? We'd have fucking church hearings again, followed by whoever the current name of Rockefeller. Nelson's been.
So, do you think there's a switch installed in their programming where certain phrases or frequencies can be hit with it? And
I do think that actually, for sure. Yeah. But I think it's not a perfect science, dude, because nature's not perfect.
Right.
There's by nature there is error. So here's a great example. Speaking of the Lincoln assassination and assassins and how these things are handled and shit coded publicly in the narrative spaces, the film In the Line of Fire, starring Clint Eastwood and John Malkovich, who went by the name Booth. He was the assassin, right?
Pay that man. Pay that man his money.
That's a second favorite. That's a second favorite role, and my second favorite role of him in Rounders. But in Line of Fire, if you recall, he was exactly as you described. He was a wet man for the CIA doing the wet work, right? And then he went rogue, and they didn't want to take accountability for him because then they would have to be culpable for some of those activities and divulge a lot of information and shit.
Right.
Forget the what's it called there? The terminal list that they just did with so that's another former CIA, former Navy SEAL who wrote a book about coming back and assassinating like fucking vice president or something, and then because she was working with some military contractor for illegal funds. And like, how many times have you heard about these people getting charges because they're not doing the IRS or stuff right on all the fucking funding, right?
Dude, for sure, dude. There's the dissenters there, Jonah. I like where your head's at there. You're making some good points there with your brain hole. Are you familiar with the film Parallax View?
I know the book.
So you know the book then, so you know Lauren Sanger.
Yeah, you might have been the one who turned me onto it. But,
yeah, dude, OSS officer and CIA officer Lauren Sanger, who wrote a book about a deep, like we're dealing with tonight in tonight's film, Jack Reacher, a network of corporate structures that is there to deal with dissenters, and they operate through corporations, and they murk political opponents up to the levels of the presidents and whatnot. We see that in the film here in Parallax View, and we see that in the JFK situation. So, like in JFK with Permindex, right? This weird, again, all the Nazi, all this Bill Colby business and the Lansdales and the fucking, they all got together over there with the Dulles boys and John J. McCloy over there in Switzerland, right? And started all these MK Ultra and other Nazi bullshit over there. Well, that's where they did Permindex too, right? That's where it was headquartered of, right?
Bronfmans were definitely not involved with the mega group or.
Well, the Bronfmans do no, sir. The Bronfmans do no wrong. First and foremost, that should be stated, just generally speaking. But so in this film by an OSS CIA dude, Lawrence Sanger, we have an operation that looks strikingly similar to the Permindex operation that Jim Garrison was investigating, which on its board of this weird conglomerate, the Swiss Italian kind of American conglomerate, was Clay Shaw, CIA dude, was Joseph Bonanno, the leader of the five families in New York City at that time, the Cosa Nostras, and John J. McCloy. That motherfucker's trying to out JJ me, dude. I won't have it.
Was David Ferry involved in that, JJ, as well?
Involved in
the whole Permindex situation.
Well, he was involved in banging Clay Shaw. That's what you mean.
Right, but I mean, do you think he was involved in a higher level than that?
I mean, like, what do you think he was doing? Some hand stuff too? Yeah, he's probably giving Clay Shaw some hand stuff.
Nah, he's doing the Gillum fucking meth and fucking dying. You remember Gillum?
So the Kevin Bacon character and all that mess that is the one that's talking about all the homosexual underground and whatnot was a conglomerate of a couple characters, but one of those characters in which was paid off by NBC during that, and no one ever, I mean, Garrison tried to make an issue of it, legally speaking, but couldn't get anywhere. He was one of the main witnesses in that grand jury investigation in those matters back in 68, right? A lot of shit was going down there in 68 when RFK got murked, by Double Sirhan and gang, right, in the process out there. Anyhow, what I'm saying there is we see all these things getting shit coded like we do in the film with these same, literally, dude, like the same kind of machinations network of people. Like I said, Permindex could be, the same company we see in Jack Reacher. You could just call it Permindex.
Again, I just want to point out, though, too, I found it quite telling that of all the years that they made that quarter as 1968, so let's say even in theory that the movie is supposed to be based in 2012, that's kind of fucking weird that you have like a 1968 quarter, you know what I mean?
That is a very interesting point, sir. Good point. Good point. And we see the machinations of what this company Permindex was accused of. Again, a Swiss, Italian, American. This is what the organization we see in Jack Reacher. This is what we see there. We see the OSS and CIA Lawrence Sanger fella starring Laurel Canyon, Young Turk's own Warren Beatty in Parallax View. Again, we see them bragging about these matters, but these are real world events. That's what I was saying. I don't know if Kane was bullshitting me if he didn't believe in these plot lines or whether. I mean, he's fine if he did, and I don't
Was he being
disrespect him for
satire?
that. Well, that's what I'm saying. I can't ever tell because I do the same shit to him on his show. So that's what I mean. I don't know if he was being serious, but I understand if he was being serious. But we do have, but my point to him, or anyone else for that matter, would be we have numerous examples of not only the machinations of real world operations of these weird corporate entities like Permadex or these creepy fuckers in Jack Reacher we see operating the same capacity, doing these weird deep state hood rat shit operations, right? And we see the CIA and OSS folks bragging about it in their own fictional stuff, like in Parallax View.
Well, the one thing that I want to point out, and I always find it fucking hilarious, is they ever since JFK they try to like denigrate you with the conspiracy theorist. But
yeah, you're a fucking conspiracy theorist, sir. How dare you?
But anytime they arrest 2 or more people, it's a fucking conspiracy. So
it's one of the most charged crimes in the United States of America, sir, every year by the federal government is conspiracy.
Like the 3 of us could get picked up. We're running a conspiracy with zero.
I didn't do it, sir. I wasn't there. No names.
Zero fucking power. But everyone finds it hard to believe that those with power are running conspiracy when they charge every fucking one else with it.
Isn't that an interesting environment, dude, that we live in these psychological operations, these mind fucks of the lone assassins, and there are no conspiracies, right? That is like the next step. It's lone nut, you're a fucking nut job conspiracy theorist, so you don't believe in the lone nut. And then the next is, how dare you think they're conspiracies? What do you think? You think that's the most prosecuted crime in America every year? Go fuck yourselves. I mean, it is, but that's the way people act about it, right?
I think, but JJ, I think we're seeing the shift now of the programming. The programming's breaking because we're able to access more information, but also with that comes a lot more disinformation as well. So it goes along with the plan of not being able to.
You nailed it, sir.
Recognize up or down.
It requires a level of discernment, and us and folks. No offense to you here, gents, and or the folks of the interwebs. I don't think you're in this boat if you're here listening to this statement, but a lot of folks use their brain hole as a paperweight, and not you gents. I like both your old styles, but you know what I mean. No, it does require a level of discernment that some folks aren't willing to take on that responsibility.
I think they are, JJ. They're just scared. I think that's most of it.
All right.
They don't want to believe.
You know what, dude? I'm an old curmudgeon who lives in a garbage can, sir. So I like your motivate. I like your optimism.
But the other thing to remember, though, too, right, is especially, too, when you look at here in North America, like, you can literally fucking be sitting next to someone, both search the same shit, and you're going to get different siloed of results.
Dude,
I know.
Dude, you ain't kidding on that, dude. That's especially zip code.
I know a lot of times I just use the VPN.
That's a good point.
I just use the VPN and fire up the index for their search engine. And fucking I don't give a fuck if and then everyone was fuck MK Google. Yes, I call it MK Google, but
it is in.
But it's kind of funny because people are like, the Russians are stealing your information. I'm like, yeah, you don't think Google would rather fucking Putin have my information? He can't come knock on my fucking door.
yeah, dude. Whenever someone says, like, because I know some folks within, the militaries and whatnot over the years, and all these different matters and whatnot. And folks, when I would make a statement in regards to our own government spying on us or infringing upon unlawfully on the rights of American citizens, they would make statements to me like, "Oh, you don't think Russia's doing that?" I'm like, I don't give a fuck if Russia's doing it. I know our government's doing it, so let's stop that first. How about we do that?
Right. I live here. I live here. I abide by these rules.
How about we do that, and then we can kick the Russian intelligence. If we know Russia's doing it, let's kick them out of here, right? Like, no, we got to watch them. We got to see what they're doing. I'm like, no, go fuck yourselves. That's not how these things work. But that is how they operate, though, right?
I got in a fight with a guy who works for the DOJ about that, actually, at a wedding.
Putin's not going to come knock on your door, but Obama is going to fucking drop a fucking drone on you, and Trump will send it.
Dude.
Trump will send in the troops to kill you when your 8-year-old daughter's there, right? You know what I mean? So, like, but hey, well, that's about Russia.
For sure. And in places like the state of Idaho, the great state of Idaho that I call Satan's butthole, they'll convict you. We've seen with Koberger with zero evidence and fabricate an entire situation in the same county with the same prosecutor. This man, well, this is the Muppet, but this man, Dale Shackleford, the Muppet, this is Muppet Dale Shackleford, but he got basically, he didn't have any rights either. So apparently his ex-wife he murdered along with Chuck Palahniuk's father. was also a victim of the same murder, along with this man's ex-wife, allegedly back on May 28th, 1999. Bill Thompson, or I call him Bilbert Thompson, the current Latol County prosecutor in Moscow, Idaho still, he would convict this fella here for the murders of both Chuck Palahniuk, Chuck Palahniuk's father, Frank Palahniuk, and this woman that he apparently met on a classified ad, as the story goes, Dale's ex-wife. Turns out, apparently, the woman in the burn-up cabin that was murked, along with Frank Palahniuk, she had a uterus. And his ex-wife had a documented hysterectomy years prior, so she didn't have a uterus. But you know what? You'll still get the death penalty in Idaho, or as I call it, Satan's butthole. So we see a lot of things where facts don't matter, narratives matter, and in fact, facts can go fuck themselves.
If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right?
That's a good one. You are a wise man, sir. That was an excellent point. So as we're bringing this thing to an end, I do have a clip from In the Line of Fire to describe those circumstances that you so aptly described about matter. So if you extrapolate on that notion, sir, that if these folks, let's say you have a fucking litany of fucking stupid programs, and then 10% of those fucking fucktard programs go fucktard off the reservation. They have their wires mixed up. Their hypnotic programming goes south. No one ever admits to these things. We're sold false narratives. We're sold slow nuts. We're sold swamp gas situations, public narratives, and they go add on to the schizo nature of our society today because none of it makes any sense. But we see that again. Like, that's a great point to make when we're trying to dissect matters in these parapolitical, frameworks or occult and or esoteric film reviews, which thank you, gentlemen, again for joining me here tonight on this one to get a little GCD. You folks of the interwebs as well. But I think it should be important to note that no one takes accountability for their own actions. So when one of our 17, as I call them, unintelligent agencies, when one of their programs goes south, dude, no one's going to admit to these things. And that's, again, I think that's a good point to make, because I think that's what we see, in instances.
Can I interrupt
Yes,
you?
sir.
Like this fucking dumb fucking Hawaiian cunt, Tulsi Gabbard. I seen a clip of her today.
Dude, you mean the cultist, the weird cultist? Please continue.
She was a young global leader of BlackRock, right?
I thought she was Storm from X-Men. Are you guys kidding me? She's not mutant power.
WEF, World Economic Forum.
Anyway, the clip I saw of her today, she's going on about how they're going after cartel leaders and all this other bullshit. Then she's like, "Oh yeah, in the interest of the Trump administration, we cut back our budget $700 million," and she's just the Office of Director of National Intelligence, which is literally just collating, right? How the fuck do you cut $700 million?
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude. Yeah, that's an administrative rule. Like, the CIA was formed to just do administrative work. They were supposed to collect papers, dude. There was not supposed to be all these programs and shit. Then after that, they created the Director of National Intelligence, which they're supposed to overlook all of the fucking 17 unintelligence agencies. So yeah, you're making some excellent points there. I appreciate your input on that, because we see X-Men looking character, right? Tulsi Gabbard, who is a confirmed weird fucking cultist, dude. I won't get into her cult tonight, but when she was a congresswoman, all of her staffers, and I suspect these are the people running the national security state, because it's not my national security, is it? I don't think it's either of your gentlemen's on national security, but we see these weird cult fuckers always put into these positions. Her entire staff were members of that cult that she's part of. No different than Gillibrand. Kirsten Gillibrand, all of her staff was Nexium. Sonny Bono, all of his staff was fucking Scientology. I got problems with all these ancient alien cargo cult fuckers invading, U.S. Congress, amongst other things. But look, is she trying to look like she's from the X-Men, dude? Is this real life? Is this a Muppet world we live in?
I think it is.
Did Jonah just rage quit on us too? Holy smokes! I'm losing. Am I offending our guests tonight, sir?
I don't think so.
I think he lost his connection.
No, yeah, that's definitely it's a good point on Tulsi Gabbard, but at the end of the day, man, like I discuss with you all the time, I think it only matters to an extent, right? It's a play, it's a game. That's kind of where I end up being. Wrestling. It goes back to wrestling, really. They're gonna push their agenda, and I know it sounds black.
Well, it's a fake dichotomy, though, dude. Right? Because all the Nazis after World War II, they got the Russian Nazis. They got the American Nazis. They were doing these weird space races while writing. We know they were writing each other's letters from America to Russia, dude. We know that was a real thing. But that's what I'm saying. We got these dumb fuckers like, our channel and this Bill Colby ball washer gang. Like, we got to watch the Nazis do all their Nazi shit, see what they're Nazi doing. Go fuckers, just stop them. How about that? There's no reason you don't have to watch them. You know what I mean? We don't have to perpetrate billions of dollars of a space race. Oh, we're fighting communism. Yeah, why am I surrounded by it then, asshole? You know what I mean? Like these aren't good excuses for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's a lack of accountability. And when we see these matters go rogue, dude, they're gonna give us swamp gas, lone nut shooters, fucking you name it. We've named so many instances tonight revolving around secret societies, Omar Mateen's, Boston bombings, dude, yada yada yada, dude, so on and so forth.
Same story every time.
Dude, that's exactly what's going on here, dude. No one wants to take accountability when their programs go wrong.
They're in a trance-like state usually. That's one of the main characteristics. They're in a trance.
Yeah, dude. Hypnosis is a major factor, dude. Hypnosis is a major factor.
Right.
Major factor.
James
Holmes is catatonic, dude. They found James Holmes fucking catatonic sitting on the sidewalk, dude. No one saw James Holmes do shit. You know what I mean? Like,
now, one thing I will add, today's shooting in Minnesota.
First of all, sir, I have an alibi. I wasn't there. I know my name is J.J. Vance. Sounds like Vance Boatler. I'm not Vance Boatler.
There's a little 10-year-old kid just kind of breaking down the story, and you can kind of tell he's lying. And maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me like he's lying.
What we talking like a Harley Davidson man situation from 9/11? Go ahead,
kind of. It's a little kid. He's 10 years old, I think.
Point out the last Transformer that went on a shooting spree. Sabrina,
we talking Buffalo Jared Revisa, dude. He tried to stab me a bunch and wear my skin as a human coat. He's a Transformer.
No, the one in Nashville where Sabrina, the teenage bitch, was rescuing people across the children across the highway.
Oh yeah, dude. You brought that to my brain hole, sir. I had no idea we had Hollywood witch stuff going on in that one, dude. That's a weird environment.
Yeah, the Nashville one. Did you know that, Landon?
What is that? The Nashville shooter was what?
Yeah, dude. Which was there, dude? What stuff?
Is running children across the highway or whatever, saving them at the Nashville shooting.
Yeah, and when you told me that, it reminded me of that video back in 2019 that leaked out not leaked out. I think she posted on her own Instagram, Lindsay Lohan's. She's trying to kidnap some young girl in like fucking Paris, and she's speaking like fucking, Farsi or some shit fluently. I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now?
So what do you think that is, JJ? I mean, what
I think it is, like you're saying, dude, the hypnosis, the program is going south, right, dude? No one's going to admit to these things. Dude, if you think that's the first young girl Lindsay Lohan's fucking, swept off the streets and speaking Farsi, I doubt it.
Did you ever see the clip that just started going around recently? Anthony Anderson's interviewing Lindsay Lohan, and she just moved in with Raven-Symoné, and he's talking about how he likes them young and shit.
Yeah, dude, and people think I make this shit up, dude. She posted it to her own Instagram. It was 2018. I did make that up. I said 2019, but I was wrong there. Dude, she was speaking fluent fucking, I don't think it was it was some dialect of the middle. I think it was Farsi now that I think about it. And trying to kidnap a refugee girl off the streets of like Paris or some shit, or Turkey. I don't remember, dude. It was weird, dude. Fucking weird. Yeah, her programming went loose, dude. How the fuck does she know Farsi, dude? That's a language not many people know, dude. It's hard. It's not one easy to understand.
That one specifically Iran, right? So.
Yeah, dude. What a fucking weird world we live in, dude. But thankfully, we have folks like I'm assuming you're describing with these most recent events in Minnesota, which I had no part of and was not anywhere near. Maybe someone should check on Vance Boatler. Maybe he was involved in it. But thankfully we have characters like Harley Guy in 9/11. Speaking of them,
she was a freelancer for
speaking
Fox.
of the
just a few blocks away and witnessed.
Dude, I live on the 43rd floor of a building, which is 5 blocks from.
Thankfully, literally as the dust is still not settled, we have guys on the scene that can tell us exactly what went down.
Not shooken up at all.
I witnessed the entire thing from beginning to end.
People talk about how it looked like a movie. I came walking down early this morning and saw both towers on fire.
First of all, I know many people. I know many folks that were there, dude. Look how clean this guy is. I'm getting a little bit of feedback from one of y'all fellas. Look how clean he is, dude. Everyone on that scene was covered, dude. Where was this guy just jumping out of a car to give us this interview too? Like, because again, the dust ain't settled yet.
He came out of the BBC van where the lady records Tower 7 falling before it falls.
I think that's one of the Rockefeller Towel boys.
Street corner. It was like a movie, but you watch the planes hit the towers.
I was watching with my roommate.
It was like a movie, dude. This is it. So, like, speaking of hypnosis, dude, these are hypnotic messaging that speaks to your subconscious. It was like a movie. It definitely fell under pressure. It was just the fires. This is 6 years before the National Institute of Technology would make the same declarations and conclusions.
Right. This dude
did it in 6 minutes. They took 6 years, dude. This guy's better.
Approximately several minutes after the first plane had hit, I saw this plane come out of nowhere and just scream right into the side of the Twin Tower, exploding through the other side.
Who's the handler that just came in scene, right? They didn't do a good job of telling him to get off camera, right?
And then I witnessed both towers collapse, one first and then the second, mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense.
Failure, right?
Obviously, there were
it was an intense fire, Landon. It was an intense fire. But was that the scene you're describing with the Minnesota situation? We had somebody on scene to give us those details.
Yeah, it was a little kid though. That's the fucked up part.
Well, I mean, these psychological operations, they got to step it up a little bit, you know.
Right. What was the kid down in Florida that's now David Hogg? His dad was worth like $100 million or some shit.
No, you're talking about Nicholas Cruz's dad was worth like $100 million. David Hogg, the fake student at Parkland, who most certainly graduated from high school years prior in San Diego, his father literally runs mass casualty exercises for the FBI as an FBI agent.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, dude. This shit's right in our face. So we're like, no, you saw that in the movie, dude. David Hogg was there. I'd seen it, dude. Even in his own video, dude, he's recording at the wrong time, hiding in the closet, and then later admits on the news that he was never there and got on his bike and rode there. Well, that's because you weren't a student, you old creep son of a bitch. Speaking of that, if y'all recall weird Instagram videos, one of the students there at Parkland, I do believe he was attending Parkland at one point in time that year, purveying himself as a student, because one of the students from Parkland confirmed, posted a video on his Instagram or whatever saying, look at this creepy 25-year-old kid in my class. They're trying to tell me he's a 21. This is 21 Jump Street is what he kept saying, and put the video in David Hogg's face, and Hogg was like slapping it away, dude. But like he was there doing.
Wasn't there
shit.
a girl JJ doing the same thing, and she wound up dead? I think.
Who?
It was a high school girl that was there that was like coming out on the internet saying that he did not go to school there.
Well, you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about, and that girl's best friend died before she gave the interview where she's laughing about it. Her best friend from the great state of Pennsylvania. They just happened to move to the Parkland High School the year prior.
Is that real? Am I remembering that right?
No, you remember that right? There's a lot of funky shit. That's what I'm saying, dude. These two kids, the one you're talking about, and her friend that allegedly dies. Then she's like her best friend since like age 3. I tracked them back to Pennsylvania. They all moved to Florida together the year prior. There's a lot of weird shit that goes on in these events. My point being is we're sold these shit codes narratives, right? What's that?
Pretty much. Can I get you to bring up the one right now? Because I just got to show Landon here that I'm not making shit up, and I want everyone to see here.
Yeah, dude, creepy witch lady, dude.
So it's an NPR and Melissa Joan Hart, Sabrina Teenage Witch, says so you see here, it says she helped kindergartners escape the Nashville shooting. But do you scroll down here and this whole section here, I won't necessarily zoom in, but
she saved them, dude, with her witchcraft.
No,
Jesse Ventura says so, dude. He was a governor, dude. He was a fighter.
I've been a frog man. I've been a Navy SEAL. I've been a WWE superstar. I've been an announcer.
How can you not believe him, dude? He's been all those things.
And Hulk Hogan wanted to start a union, and I said that's bullshit.
That did happen.
I just want to point out her. She says we helped the classic kindergartners across a busy highway that were climbing out of the woods that were trying to escape the shooter situation at their school. This is literally
this is totally normal and totally reasonable. I can't imagine why you'd draw any scrutiny into the life-saving actions of Melissa. What the fuck is she doing there in the first place, dude? Right? Was she just walking by? The guy was just walking by, and fucking suddenly these kids were running. She's the Gene Rosen, dude. She's the Gene Rosen of that event.
No, she lives across
you
the
get
highway.
The reference. You know what I'm talking about.
Rosen, the one that fucking
we recently.
Yeah, Gene Rosen's the guy. He's like, oh, these kids were walking out of Sandy Hook, and they're like, oh, I thought they were just playing a skit, and I had them come into my home, and I served them tea and gave them some animals. Dude, that creepy fuck. He ran the local cable station, and he was a fucking SAG-carrying actor, dude. These crisis actors.
Isn't he the same one that the White House press correspondence by Fox, or is that a different Rosen? Or was that?
I think that was Dr. Rosen. That was Chevy Chase's character from Fletch.
Right? Rod Rosen.
Dr. Rosen.
No, the Obama administration removed the press credentials of and charged the fucking reporter.
So when we're saying I'm gonna offer you guys some closing statements here. This is my closing statement because again, Landon, you make a great point, and I think one that's often overlooked in conspiracy culture when we're unpacking matters of this occult and esoteric nature. These feuding, unintelligent agencies, or they call themselves intelligent, but I call them unintelligent. They're like CIA is no different than Scientology to me. The only difference is the CIA is a cult purveying itself as an intelligence agency, and Scientology is an intelligence agency or unintelligent agency purveying itself as a cult. Other than that, they're the same.
And preventing itself from paying taxes, right?
Well, and they're jamming things up orifices, dude. They're doing all sorts of weird stuff. Sex, cult, genetic stuff. Who knows, dude? Drug, sex, rock and roll, hood rat shit. But L. Ron Hubbard, most notably, could be a character like this who went rogue.
But I will point out, anytime they say sources and method, that just means that either they have blackmail of you with CP, or they're just going to put it on your computer.
Well, that's standard procedure, sir. That's what we do here in America.
Pretty much.
It's okay. We're on the same team. Okay?
Hands! Hands, motherfucker! I'm getting my identification, okay?
Show them your hands. Get them up there.
Give it to me.
David Coppinger, CIA.
You can trust me, CIA.
Who's this asshole?
Pay no attention to the fact that they have no legal basis in which to operate on domestic soil. But you can trust him. He's a CIA. He's here to help.
Oh, shit. God damn it. Who are you here for, Larry or me?
Mr. Larry used to be one of our operatives.
What kind of skeletons has Eastwood got in his closet? Who are you here for, Larry or me? The assassin or him? Like, what's he got in his closet there? What's he been doing?
Right.
He's threatened to kill the president.
We didn't think he was serious.
We didn't think he was serious.
But you knew, you and the FBI.
I understand your frustration.
You understand my frustration, you pompous son of a bitch.
Get him, Clint.
What the fuck did Larry do for you anyway? Run coke for the Contras and sell arms to Iran?
It's a C-12 matter, so it's off the record.
C-12 matter, fellas.
What year does this film come out?
That would have been a 1992 cinematic masterpiece in the Line of Fire. I lied. I think that might have been 1993. But doesn't that scene describe exactly what we've been talking tonight there, fellas, and exactly how you're describing about these rogue operations going south? And sometimes they're a little bit more approved than they are, and sometimes like, oh yeah, when we just stamped it going south, but really it's actually what we wanted to do, right?
The Secret Service did a fantastic job with JFK.
They were great. Yeah, when they put that fat lady who took a computer-based exam in which to become a Secret Service agent around Trump on the that whole Butler situation, they do a great job every time, dude. When Squeaky Fromm and the other Manson girl up in 75 tried to get Ford, they did a great job there too. That they stopped him. Oh, wait, they didn't. Oh, that's right.
That Trump thing was all a staged event. Fuck out.
I understand, sir. I'm just using it as an example with all these events, right? So when Nelson Rockefeller, almost Henry Kissinger's daddy, not biologically, but in the bed kind of deal, when he almost became the unelected president there in 75. So we see a lot of these kind of matters or these deep parapolitical events around these very certain events. Gerald Ford, Nelson Rockefeller, the unelected vice president of Ford, tried to murk Ford twice. When and I'm not saying he even used conventional means like lasers.
There's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
They tried to get Ted Gunderson twice, but they used two Manson girls for Ford 3 weeks apart in California back in September of 75. As a result of that, nothing to stop these matters. It was local I'm getting a little feedback from one of you gentlemen. If you can check your mic, please, sir. It was one of the local standards bys that stopped it. And he was actually the first one was a gay fella, former Marine that got ostracized, dude. Like he wasn't even a hero, dude. He was like fucking diminished for his activities. They were like roasting him for being a gay fella and saving Ford. It was against the gay something, dude. It got. I mean, who knows? That could have been a psychological operation. What I'm saying here is, we've been psyoped for so long by these assholes, dude. These Bill Colby ball washers and whatnot, but. We see these matters in the films and whatnot that depict a lot of these tales. And I do think that, as we started off this conversation, we do a lot of this is a braggadocious manner in which to then later diminish anyone who says, oh, you think that's a real thing? You saw that in a movie, sir. How dare you bring this nonsense to me?
But I will point out the bitch that ran the Secret Service, right? When she was in front of Congress, remember she said, the guy was asking, like, oh, would Trump have different if he was the governor or if he was the president? She's like, well, it's different when we're under terms of continuity of government, and literally said that in Congress. And no one
right, dude. She did say that. I was watching that hearing, dude. I fucking almost dropped my coffee when I was watching that last. Dude, that's interesting because there's a lot there. We were actually just talking about continuity of government over on the Daily Dissident, weren't we, sir? Landon?
Yeah, COG, baby. We definitely got to get.
I minor interactions with some of that community. A lot of folks don't know it exists. The first time the public found out it existed was in the Iran-Contra hearings of Oliver North. He'd set up some weird deep state operations, permadex style, through FEMA, dude. No one had even knew any of this stuff was a thing until it became public in them hearings. But what didn't, that's a known. What are the known unknown? These sick bastards have other stuff that didn't get resolved and presented in these hearings.
The road, I mean, if you look at the roads, JJ, the main highways, they're all connected with that as well, with the COG. I mean, that's all what's it called? Civil engineering, right? Purposeful locations for roads, exit ways, different things of that nature.
Deep underground military bases. And again, that's an idea that it gets twisted, it gets made foolish. But these are real things, and there are actual things that, there's an actual validity to it. But you see what I'm saying? Like, in the shit coating of narratives, and again, I think we are coming to a time, hopefully, where folks aren't believing the lone nut swamp gas stuff anymore. But who knows? We can all be, hopefully, that optimistic. But I do thank both of you gents for your time this evening, your input and your discourse. And I would like to offer you some closing statements on the film and any other closing statements outside of, quoting the Communist Manifesto or things of that nature.
Well, I will just say, as far as you having faith, don't forget the Q movement and the Trump tards.
It's very real. JFK Jr.'s alive. He's trust the plan. We're all going to get med beds.
And the Trump tards think that sending the National Guard into Washington D.C., even if it is a scumfuck capital.
No, martial law is a good idea. We should all cheer for martial law. We should all hope.
What was the deal with the parade? Do you think? I think something was up with that. That was my whole.
Dude,
read
there's
on that.
so much weird shit going on in this country right now, dude. It is we have the only way I can describe it is we live in a post-meme world 2025. It's a full-blown Muppet world. The train has left the tracks. We're waiting for impact. Lord knows when that's going to be and how messy it is, but it ain't going to be pretty.
Hey, we'll be here live.
All I'm going to say is...
I dunked that, dude. I just made that shot, dude. I'm just saying. There's no look. Go ahead, sir.
Going to end up mausoleum like he's fucking Vladimir Lenin or Ilyich or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah,
Donald Trump's going to be the mausoleum. Then fucking 100 years from now, people are going to be like, oh, that's the president.
Donald Trump's a time traveler. JFK Jr.'s alive, and we've all been propagandized and psyoped to no end. And do you have any other closing statements there, Jen, on tonight's film, or these matters in which we see these films that portray these actual real world events? Like, we've given countless circumstances of real world events similar in nature and description to the elements seen in Jack Reacher, the 2012 cinematic masterpiece starring Xenu's favorite Hollywood character and my favorite character to play a tall guy who knows how to fight in Hollywood, Tom Cruise.
No, but I will point out next week we'll be talking about another good old Charlie Indigo Alpha fucking Christians in action, or I always call them cocks and assholes,
Fridays for Operation GCD Fridays, I believe. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the week after. But no, next
Landon
week
will also be joining us as well, I believe, as well.
What is that?
Yeah.
When is that?
You're going to join me as a co-host next Fridays when you and Jonah joins us here on Operation GC Fridays, right?
All right. Sounds good to me.
But after we're going to be doing, unless you want me to move up, I think I think you're ahead of time. You got someone else next.
Oh, am
Friday,
I? What? Yeah, no, yeah, not this. Yes, or not this Friday. My apologies. Next Friday, the 12th. Wait, no, disregard. The 5th.
Friday after.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, wait. Dude, you know my schedule better than I. Yes, sir, you are correct. It is the 12th, not the 5th. So it'll be a couple weeks from now, Landon. But
okay,
yes, sir. I look forward, dude. We've had some real barn burners, dude, and I feel like we're unpacking a lot of these parapolitical ideas. I've certainly gained a better understanding of a lot of these matters as a result. I hope other folks have.
We're going to be diving into the FOIA papers on Roy DeMeo and just the Roy DeMeo.
Dude, Roy DeMeo, dude. I like it. A serial killer that's often not described as such.
And Project Cassandra, too. That's a fun one that no one knows about.
And that will be Operation GC Fridays on September 12th. Thank you for reminding me there, sir. But I do look forward to that one. I appreciate your input and discourse here tonight on this film review, and look forward to future film reviews if you can join us to get a little GCD. And I thank you again, sir. Landon, Daily Dissident, football YouTube channel, which will be in the link. What's the name of your football YouTube channel?
It's the Fantasy
Landon's
Report.
Picks?
No, the Fantasy Report.
The Fantasy Report. I'll put that link in. I don't have that in there yet, but I will put it in the show notes, along with Jonah's social media contacts for folks that want to interact with both either one of you gents. But Daily Dissident, we just did a real barn burner in Weird West Virginia. I highly recommend folks check that out. Do you have any closing statements, thoughts, concerns, questions, commentary, otherwise on tonight's film, or any other matters?
I'll tell you what, JJ.
I was a governor. I was a fighter.
Being a real American patriot, taking all these topics down like we do down in the Baja. But other than that,
you live off the grid. Guys. You live off the grid. I was a fider. I was a governor. I live off the grid.
If anyone takes anything from this, just don't look everything so bleak. Try to have some fun with it, because in this world,
that's what we do here, right? We like to have kick around some good ideas, and have some good times. I like where your brain holes at, sir. I do apologize for interrupting you. Please continue.
Just don't. That's one thing I've been kind of progressing on throughout my journey, is just don't get so dark with it. You got to learn to take breaks and step away from things and regroup. Don't let it consume you, because the abyss will stare right back into your face. And
I like where your brain holes at, sir. And I do share a similar sentiment and perspective in life, and that's why I like your style, sir. And next Wednesdays, folks can check out The Goonies, an occult and esoteric film review. And if you need a different break of a Satanic Murder Inc. kind of psyop style, I got The Anatomy of Satanic Panic tomorrow night, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Times, here on Operation GCD, where I'll do my Operation GCD Patreon here on this side of the free stuffs, and then I do over on the Patreon the rest of those matters. And then I got this Fridays, because I don't even know my own schedule. This motherfucker, just kidding, he's not. He's an awesome dude. This dude right here, Jacob J of Rise to Liberty podcast, he's trying to out JJ me. I'll have none of this. But he's a sharp dude, he's an ex-Mo, former Mormon like myself. I like where his brain hole's at on matters of liberty. Big fan of that. So that's Fridays. This Friday's 9:15 p.m. Eastern times. And then Operation GCD Sundays, also 9:15 p.m. Eastern times. And links below on the notes and whatnot and on the screens. This is the case of Dale Shackelford. And that's the Muppet Dale Shackelford. Welcome to Idaho, Satan's butthole. So that's my plugs and commentary. And I do thank you folks of the interwebs here tonight for joining us to get a little GCD. I'll offer an alibi to both of you gents, as I thank both of you all for joining me to get a little GCD.
Absolutely. Good show, guys.
All right, then. Yeah. Well, on that note, we will catch you folks next time.
Well, that's it. That's the show here, folks. So the next time you're out on the town, visiting your local watering holes, or perhaps just meandering around, and you hear the unmistakable sounds of metal clanking, and you spot signs of a disturbance, but check your six. Look in that garbage can, 'cause you never can tell. The GCDs may be loose in your town.